Chapter 652. Nowadays, the imperial court in the capital had developed a habit. No matter what they were discussing, as long as the pigeons from Idyll flew over, they would interrupt the discussion and wait for Gao Lishur to bring back the news. In fact, if there was a war in other places, they would do the same. However, news from Idyll was transmitted faster and more frequently. Not only was there news from the front line, but there was also a series of things Zhang Zhong had done. Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao were like spies who had infiltrated the enemy. They brazenly collected information and analyzed it. If they did not understand something, they would ask Zhang Zhong. Once they were done sorting out the information, they would immediately send it to the capital via pigeons. They would let the people in the capital see what kind of information could be used in other regions. Of course, there were also things that couldn't be said. For example, the Zhang family didn't report the fact that they used dead people for research. The officials in the imperial court didn't need others to report it. They already knew about it and tacitly allowed the Zhang family to do it secretly. However, they definitely couldn't say it out loud. It would be troublesome if the people knew about it. In their hearts, they didn't want to stop it. After all, it wasn't their own family members who were used for research. If it was their turn to be injured one day, they wouldn't expect the medical school to save them. Now 3 pigeons were sent at a time. Because 2 pigeons didn't arrive at the destination one time, there was a gap in the content of the next pigeon. The imperial court sent an urgent report from 800 li to ask about it. It was unknown whether the 2 pigeons were tired of flying and found a place to settle down or were beaten up by something. Therefore, they added another pigeon to be safe. Li Longji stopped talking. Although the overseas expansion was important, it was far less important than Idyll. As long as the Zhang family in Idyll was there, they could ask his family about whether to use force or business to invade. Gao Lishur walked all the way back to the imperial court. Everyone could roughly guess from his expression. After losing news of Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and the army a few days ago, Gao Lishur's face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. Today was different. Gao Lishur, who was already very handsome, became energetic. His eyebrows were raised and the corners of his mouth were raised. The officials understood that this was good news. Do you have news about Cuckoo and Xiao Bao? Li Longji sat on top and asked calmly. If he did not take the initiative to ask, then he would be truly calm. Now that he had asked, it meant that his heart was not like what he showed. Gao Lishur nodded but didn't say anything. It seemed that he hadn't recovered from his joy. A courtier beside him reminded him in a low voice, General Gao, His Majesty is asking you a question. Oh, Your Majesty, good news, we won. Gao Lishur was surprised and quickly replied. Li Longji nodded and didn't say anything, waiting for Gao Lishur to continue. All the officials were also waiting. They didn't know which side would win. After all, the Jianan faction was fighting 2 wars at the same time. One was military and the other was economic. The military was more direct and the economic was not bad either. Your Majesty, there's a report from Wing Province. Under the command of Xiao Bao, Jianan's economic war has successfully defeated the Tubo Empire, swallowing all of the funds invested by the Tubo Empire. At the same time, the local merchants who cooperated with the Tubo Empire were implicated as well. The farmers have been able to earn some income, and the other commoners haven't suffered too much losses. The Zhang family is currently preparing to compensate the commoners who suffered from the high price of grain. When Gao Lishur reported the news to the crowd, an official by the side pouted and grumbled, the Zhang family is just being kind. The commoners were the ones who went to buy the grain themselves, so why should they care about them? Don't they know that they are helping the Tubo Empire by buying the grain themselves? As soon as he finished speaking, Gao Lishur immediately replied, that's not right. Before the dust settled, how could the commoners know that Jianan is in the midst of a war that can kill without seeing blood? Since we can't eliminate the Tubo Empire before the war, we have to take responsibility for the commoners. Indeed. Continue, Li Longji spoke up to help Gao Lishur. Your Majesty, according to the data compiled by the Zhang family, the Tubo Empire and the merchants invested roughly 400,000 strings of cash to launch an economic war against Jianan. Due to the leverage effect, the capital invested was increased by 5 times, and Jianan City suffered a blow of nearly 2 million strings of cash. The Zhang family invested 25 strings of cash to create half of the Tubo Empire's leverage in the form of futures contracts. At the same time, through technology and public opinion, they managed to limit the amount of money invested by the Tubo Empire and the merchants to a small extent. Furthermore, they cooperated with the local merchants to solidify the reputation of the tricycles in the market. Using the excuse that the newly renovated roads were suitable for the tricycles, They launched a direct attack on the Tubo Empire's livestock acquisition method. The concrete operation plan will be sent to you later. This economic war is being commanded by Xiao Bao from the Tubo Empire. When he returned, he said that he had too many regrets that he wasn't able to control the situation as he wished. Gao Lishir tried his best to explain with a calm tone. As for the various terms, the officials in the royal court knew them, and they had no choice but to learn them. Li Longji nodded. Wei Wei nodded. He still didn't understand the details of the matter, and he would have to wait for the news to reach the capital. This was the first time he was witnessing what a true economic war was like, and he was certain that the situation wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. An official by the side suddenly asked, General Gao, did the news mention where the money invested by the Tubo Empire and the merchants working with them went? A portion of it was taken by those with grain, but it can't be that they took 400,000 strings of cash, right? Also, where did the money spent by the local merchants go? That wasn't mentioned, but it should be taken by the Zhang family, Gao Lishir replied. If the Zhang family took it, who would the money belong to in the end? The official asked. The others couldn't help but have similar thoughts as well. Indeed, would the money belong to the Zhang family in the end? Wouldn't the Zhang family think that they would be able to reap benefits just by participating in an economic war? Wouldn't that make the Zhang family think that they could play around with it in the future? Gao Lishir didn't answer the question directly. Instead, he turned to Li Longji and said, Your Majesty, Cuckoo has returned with a great victory. She launched a series of sneak attacks on the Tubo Empire's territory, burned countless Tubo rations, killed countless enemies, and annihilated the Tubo Empire's cavalrymen before returning from the snowy mountains. As for the details, we'll know once the battle report arrives. This sneak attack was also to coordinate with Xiao Bao's economic war. Tubo is in a precarious situation this winter, and Xiao Bao intends to use the excess rations in Jianan to trade for cheap livestock in Tubo. The livestock will be used in Jianan province's transportation and farming areas, and they will only be charged a small fee, which will be supplemented by the local medical hall in the future. The officials finally understood. The Zhang family had given the benefits to the entire Jianan province, and the ones who received the money were the commoners and local officials. The Zhang family didn't ask for the money themselves. The official who asked the question earlier didn't know what to say. Similarly, Li Longji wasn't clear on the details of Wang Wan's battle, so he could only await further news. That means to say that Tubo is currently lacking in rations, and the morale of their troops has been reduced to zero? They won't be able to invade the borders for the next few years. Officials, when will Zhang Zhong return and where should we arrange for him? Also, how should we reward Cuckoo and Xiao Bao? Li Longji pondered for a moment before asking the officials. This time the royal court was in an uproar. There were all kinds of opinions. Some said that Wang Wan should be allowed to lead more troops to attack Tubo instead of using rations to trade for livestock. After all, wouldn't they be able to obtain livestock after conquering Tubo? Some said that Zhang Zhong should be allowed to return to the capital as an idle official. After all, he had too many matters to deal with and he needed to rest for a while. In other words, they were saying that Zhang Zhong's reputation was growing more and more, and they should restrain him a little. There were also some who suggested that Zhang Zhong should continue to be the provincial governor of a province, and arrange for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to be local officials. In short, there were all kinds of opinions, and some even suggested that Xiao Bao participate in next year's imperial examinations. Because Zhang Zhong was the provincial governor, it wouldn't be a problem to give Xiao Bao the position of high scholar, and they could save the trouble of taking the examinations. If possible, they would allow Xiao Bao to be an official in the royal court. Li Longji was also considering this problem. Zhang Zhong's position was very simple to him. He just needed to arrange a place for him, and it wouldn't be a problem even if he had to go to the capital. The main thing was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. There was no need to mention the capabilities of the two of them. One of them was good at war, and even when Tubo's military strength was less than 4 times the enemy's, they could only use defensive measures. How arrogant was this? No one dared to oppose the arrangement of a general with real power. Xiao Bao didn't seem to have killed many Tubo soldiers directly, but in the economic war in Jianan province, he was able to win so easily even when he was commanding from afar. He definitely wasn't bad in terms of economy, and he was able to predict the enemy's plans. He was able to defeat the person who was ranked 11th on the Monopoly game board that Tubo arranged. If they arranged for him to be the county magistrate, he would definitely be able to do a good job. Besides, he also had the help of his family. However, the 2 children were really too young. According to the rules, once they were assigned a position, they couldn't be in the same place as their family. He didn't know if they were willing or not. If they weren't willing, he couldn't do anything to the two children. During the debate, time passed quickly, and it was already past the usual morning court session. If they continued to debate like this, they probably wouldn't be able to eat their meals. Gao Lisher didn't participate in the debate. He was thinking about when he could meet Xiao Bao and Cuckoo in person and let Xiao Bao be his adopted son. He was worried that Xiao Bao wouldn't accept. After waiting for a while, seeing that the debate still hadn't reached a conclusion, Gao Lisher moved closer to Li Longji and quietly said, "Your Majesty, why don't we wait until after the new year to ask Zhang Zhong's family and see what they plan to do? There's one more thing. Give the Zhang family some benefits." The Zhang family asked for land in Jianan province or Hebei province. We should think about this. Should we give it to them or not? Give. If we don't give, how can we be at ease? But I heard that the Zhang family actually doesn't intend to give them land in Jianan province. They want to go to Hebei province, but I don't want to give them land in Hebei province. They want to raise horses and Hebei province is too close to the sea. Their sea transportation is also very big. What should we do? Li Longji thought of the news that came last time. The Zhang family wanted a place to raise horses, and they also wanted a desert. The desert was easy to deal with because it wasn't Tang's land. The Zhang family also specially trained people who could adapt to the cold on the snowy mountains, which meant that they wanted to go to Hebei province. This was difficult. He couldn't use people so casually, otherwise, it would easily lead to a big mistake. Gao Lisher didn't know what to say. The main thing was that he didn't understand the Zhang family's plan. Why did they want to go to Hebei province? Li Longji didn't insist on Gao Lisher's idea. He just said casually. After thinking about it, he said, "Since they want to raise horses, let's arrange for them to go to Feng province. It's closer to the capital than Hebei province, and it's not close to the sea. The population is small, so even if the Zhang family wants to do something, they can't do it. What do you think?" Gao Lisher nodded. In fact, he didn't want to let the Zhang family get a land there, which would make the imperial court too stingy. If there was a heavy snowfall, the road would be blocked, and it would be inconvenient to communicate with here. Even if the Zhang family sent people there, the news would be blocked. When the emperor said so, it meant that he had almost made a decision. Gao Lisher's objection didn't have much effect. Besides, the Zhang family had the ability to make money. They didn't lack a slightly bad place. Xiao Bao and the others wouldn't go to Feng province in person. Li Longji seemed to feel that it was a little bad, so he said, "You can give them a land in Feng province." At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still telling stories to the little ones at home in Idyll. They told the stories of the battlefield in Tubo as if they were fairy tales. They didn't know that there was already a fierce fight in the capital over their family's matter. They also didn't know that before the follow-up measures were used, Li Longji had already arranged the land in Feng province according to their plan. On this day, the army of the Tang dynasty came to the desert. There was a lot of sand in the desert and it didn't hurt at all when you fell on it. Unlike other deserts, there was a lake in the desert. The lake water was clear and blue and there were big shells in the lake. When the Tang army arrived in the desert, there was no water, so they drank from the lake. When there was no food, they picked shells in the lake. However, the lake water was very deep. Some people in the Tang army didn't know how to swim, so they could only watch others pick shells to eat. They were anxious at the sight. Zhang Xiaobao told the little ones about the desert. He tried his best to remove the bloody places and focused on describing the scenery. Then wouldn't it be fine if the people who knew how to swim picked up shells and gave them to the people who didn't know how to swim? Hearing this, Xiao Bei expressed his thoughts. Xiao Bei is really smart. As Xiao Bei said, the people who knew how to swim helped the people who didn't know how to swim. In the end, everyone was full. When they were eating, they found beautiful pearls in the shells. They didn't secretly hide them. Instead, they gave them to Sister Cuckoo and Sister Cuckoo kept them. She kept them and brought them back for us. I know. When I swim in the desert in the future, I will also find pearls for them. Xiao Bei's reaction was very fast. He immediately knew who the pearls belonged to. When he spoke, he even made a swimming action. The other little ones also clamored to swim in the desert. They also knew how to swim. Usually when the weather was hot, they played in the water and had long learned how to swim. All of them were good swimmers. Even if there were some man-made waves, they wouldn't drown. Yes, Xiao Bei is right. In the future, when you swim in the desert, not in the desert but in the desert lake, remember to pick up shells. These shells, after a long time, people will come out of them. Let's see who can find them. Zhang Xiaobao was exhausted from telling stories. When telling stories to the little ones, he had to adjust his mentality to the level of a little one. He had to let himself see the world from the perspective of a little one. Otherwise, the little ones wouldn't understand. Xiao Bei nodded vigorously and asked, "What happened after that?" Then a big fish came out of the lake. It wanted to eat the person who picked the shells. You saw the big fish, right? The big fish in the water are very powerful. Such a big fish, even if I went in, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. I could only run. If I ran too slow, I would be eaten by the big fish. Zhang Xiaobao casually gestured the length of the fish. The group of little ones nodded. They did see the dried fish that they brought back. The biggest one was more than 5 feet long. It was frightening. Then what happened? Xiao Zhu asked worriedly. Then what are we? We are the invincible Tang army. If one person couldn't beat it, 2 people would go. If 2 people couldn't beat it, 10 people would go. In the end, more than 200 of us rushed up. When the big fish saw that it was not good, it wanted to run away. Guess did it run away? Zhang Xiaobao said with a mighty look. No. The little ones shook their heads. Yes, it didn't run away. More than 200 of us surrounded it. Someone said to the big fish that it was wrong. We just wanted to eat some shells. If it rushed out and hurt us, we would eat it. So, everyone rushed up and killed the big fish that was not convinced. We were not willing to eat the meat and left it for you. When Zhang Xiaobao was telling the story, he waved his fists and kicked to make the story more vivid. In fact, 200 people were not needed at all. 4 people of the protection team went down and pierced through the fish. It didn't take long for the fish to float up. The little ones didn't know how powerful their family's number 0 protection team was. They really thought that their brother and sister mobilized 200 people for a fish. Xiao Bei pursed his lips and said, "The big fish was too bad. It didn't let me eat. Serves it right. I ate it. Then what happened? How did I hide? Then didn't we kill the big fish later? We found that the lake was very big, so we let those who didn't know how to swim learn how to swim. We swam in the water to avoid the Tubo scouts. As for me, in order to see where the Tubo people were, I let the water cloud take me to the sky. I flew in the sky, and when there was a chance, I let you all fly once. I flew to the blue sky and was with the white cloud. The white cloud turned into a little lamb and wanted to play with me. The next moment, it turned into a steamed bun for me to eat. At that time, I wanted to bring some back for you. But I could only eat and couldn't take. So I... Little young master, little miss, the Tubo people came. They said that they agreed to exchange livestock for food. They want us to discuss the price with them. A person came from outside the courtyard and reported to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan was watching Zhang Xiaobao make up a story. When she heard that the Tubo people came, she said to the person, "Tell the Tubo people to wait. Xiaobao and I will go and talk to them. We are busy telling stories to our younger brothers and sisters. They don't know what's important." Xiaobao continue. "Why didn't you bring back the steamed bun?" Xiao Bei and the others also thought that the Tubo people didn't know what was important. They were listening to stories. Zhang Xiaobao also thought so. Telling stories to their younger brothers and sisters was a big matter. The Tubo people asked them to wait. They couldn't delay the important matter. He continued, "Then I asked White Cloud, how can I let my younger brothers and sisters eat it? White Cloud told me a way to make cotton candy. I will make it for you all later." The little ones couldn't help but stick out their tongues and lick their lips. After waiting for a while, they followed their older brother and sister to make cotton candy. They found a craftsman to assemble the equipment. It was very simple. They just needed to heat and rotate it. Then, they put sugar into the box with holes that could produce centrifugal force. They took a pair of chopsticks and caught it. After a while, a big cotton candy came out. After the little ones ate one by one, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took a few more cotton candy to meet the Tubo people. The Tubo people sent over was a person from the Kimu Kahu tribe who was relatively knowledgeable about economics. His name was Kimu Jiji. He was a cautious person and usually didn't show his abilities. He was the leader of the negotiations. One was to talk about war, and the other was to talk about exchanging livestock for food. However, when he told others, he only talked about exchanging livestock and didn't talk about war. The Tubo people who came with him didn't understand why he did this. They arrived at Idyll the day before yesterday. Ever since they knew that Cuckoo came back after crossing the snow, the Tubo troops outside the pass all retreated. They couldn't afford to waste more food. Zhang Zhong stole some of the rations and Wang Wan burned a portion of the rations. Most of the rations were used on the march. In order to capture Wang Wan, the Tubo army had mobilized too many soldiers. The rations were constantly being depleted. If they didn't think of a solution soon, many people would starve to death this winter. They would only be able to replenish their rations during spring. Kimu Jiji could speak the language of the Great Tang very fluently. He also studied the culture of the Great Tang. After arriving here, he didn't rush to meet the negotiators. Instead, he asked for a meeting after gathering a lot of information from the local people and made preparations. He thought that the great Tang would send a large team to negotiate with him. There would be many experienced people in the team. However, after he revealed his identity, the reaction of the people in Idyll was too cold. They didn't take him seriously at all. After all, he was representing a country. After waiting for 2 hours, someone sent a message saying that the people negotiating with him were Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who entered Tubo this time. However, the two of them were busy with very important business. They told stories to their younger siblings and asked them to wait for a while. They would talk after they finished. Some of the people Kimujiji brought were unwilling. They shouted to express their protest and even threatened to send troops if they didn't come to Tubo. However, they were stopped by Kimujiji. Although he was also very angry in his heart, he didn't dare to let his subordinates completely say that they were going to send troops. If the other party was unhappy and didn't want to talk, then this trip would be in vain. This time, not only was he going to exchange the food back, he also had another plan. After waiting for another 3.5 hours, it was already past lunchtime. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had finished telling stories to the little ones and made cotton candy, came over with the cotton candy. When the two of them came over, they only brought the 2 servant girls who accompanied them and the old man Pai, who was already sitting there silently. They didn't bring any more guards. There were 7 people from Tubo, led by Kimujiji. When they saw that the 2 people who came in were the 2 children who messed up their country, some of them wanted to kill the little girl right away. However, when this person's murderous gaze met with Cuckoo's eyes, he immediately retracted his gaze. At this time, Cuckoo no longer had the doting expression she had when she was playing with her younger siblings. There was a cold smile at the corner of her mouth, her pupils contracted, and her cute face revealed a layer of coldness. Her gloomy expression was even more severe than a rainy day. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, was facing the Tubo people from the side. He stood in front of Wang Wan and squinted his eyes. When he saw the unfriendly gazes from the other side, he chuckled and said, "Heh, what? You want to kill all of us here? I'll warn you, if you show that kind of expression again, I'll bury you in the Tang Empire. Just with you guys? I'm not looking down on you guys, but you guys are really not worthy of my attention. Killing you guys now is as easy as crushing an ant. If you're not convinced, look at me again." "Xiaobao, don't scare them. We've already beaten them up like that, so it's not right to scare them anymore. Give them some face. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Zhang, Grandpa Yao, you guys are here too. That's great, I'll give you guys some cotton candy. I made it especially for Xiao Bei and the rest just now." Wang Wan also attacked the confidence of the Tubo people. Her attitude clearly showed that she did not put the 7 people from Tubo in her eyes. She walked in front of Old Man Pai and the other 2 and passed the cotton candy to them. Old Man Pai also cooperated and took it. He asked, "Are Xiao Bei and the rest asleep?" "They're going to sleep immediately. Otherwise, Xiao Bao and I won't have time to care about other small matters. It's just some people from Tubo dying. How can it be more important than Xiao Bei and the rest being happy?" Wang Wan answered with a smile. Then her expression changed. She turned around and passed the extra cotton candy in her hand to Kimujiji. "This is for you. Try the good things from Tang Empire. Go back and talk about it. Let your Tubo people know about it." Kimujiji looked at Wang Wan and held back the anger in his heart. He took the cotton candy and squeezed out a smile. "When I go to Tubo to greet General Cuckoo's family, I'll definitely try the good things from Tang Empire." "Not bad. I'm very satisfied with your attitude. Now you can tell me why you guys are here." Wang Wan sat down on the chair Zhang Xiaobao pulled out. She licked the cotton candy in her hand and smacked her lips. Then she said to Kimujiji, "If the 6 people behind Kimujiji had not been warned by Zhang Xiaobao's words just now, they would have rushed up and used force to regain their dignity." Kimujiji took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. He said, "This time I have 2 things to say. First, that is... Wait, you haven't told me your name. Tell me first. Tubo won't send a nameless person here, right?" Before Kimujiji finished, Wang Wan interrupted him and asked, "I'm Kimujiji." Kimujiji's brewing mood disappeared again. "Oh, it's you. Are you with Kuhu? Your names are similar. He was defeated by me. Fortunately, he didn't come. Otherwise, I would ask him if he still dares to come." Wang Wan continued. Kimujiji's hands under the table clenched into fists. Then he loosened them and nodded. "We are from the same unit. But names have nothing to do with each other. The war is over. Let's not talk about the battlefield. I have 2 things to talk about. First, that is the situation of the war." I, Tubo, want to ask if the Tang Empire is willing to maintain the relationship between the two countries. Wait a minute. You are contradicting yourself. You just said that the war is over. If you don't talk about the battlefield, why are you asking about the situation of the war? By the way, what's your name again? I was thinking about how to make the cotton candy more delicious and forgot. Please say it again. Sorry. Wang Wan said to Kumu Gigi apologetically. My name is Kumu Gigi. I said the situation of the war because we are not on the battlefield now. I want to know the Tang Empire you represent. You and Kumu Ku, who are not biological brothers, right? It looks very similar. You're not lying to me? Wang Wan once again interrupted Kumu Gigi. Can't you guys continue the negotiations? If you don't want to talk, we will go back and come back with the army. One of Kumu Gigi's men couldn't help but stare at her and ask. Wang Wan looked at him contemptuously and nodded. Okay. Tubo, you are welcome to come and talk with me. I am going to go to war again and ask you about the art of war. But this time I won't come with less than 10,000 light cavalry. I will mobilize all the soldiers of Jianan Circuit and send them to Tubo. Please, I won't see you off. Kumu Gigi knew that he was in trouble when he heard his men's words. Sure enough, Wang Wan's reaction was too strong. He hurriedly scolded his men. Shut up. Otherwise, I will report this to my superiors when we go back. Kumu Gigi was furious. Why couldn't the men he brought bear it? Why did they say that they would send troops to Masha? Were they afraid of this? The people beside him also knew that they made a mistake. They lowered their heads and didn't say anything. Kumu Gigi turned back and said to Wang Wan, don't take what I said just now to heart. To be honest, Tubo doesn't want to fight anymore. After all, this year isn't that good. What I want to say is, can the great Tang have a truce with Tubo? And compensate for Tubo's losses? Do you have any shame? Why should we compensate Tubo? Even if you don't want to fight, I still want to fight. I still don't have enough fun killing people. In the past, you always used the tone of a victor when invading the border. You still want to do that this year? Then I will fight until Tubo gives up. If you don't believe me, we can try. I will immediately mobilize the army. I'm going to send out 100,000 soldiers. Let's see how many people Tubo will send to encircle us. You don't want to fight anymore? Sure, you have to admit your mistake first. You shouldn't have harmed the people of Wangjiang. You have to compensate for the losses of Shuzhou and Wangjiang. As for the exact amount of compensation, we will talk about it after Xiaobao calculates it. Second, compensate for the losses of the Great Tang in this war, including the little tricks you guys played behind the scenes and the self-righteous economic war. You have to compensate for both. As for the exact amount, we will talk about it after Xiaobao calculates it. Third, send more of your princesses to the Great Tang. Marry them to us to show your sincerity. Send 3 of them first. Do you have 3 of them? It won't do if there are too few of them. We have to think of something. Fourth, hand over the main culprit who supported this war. I don't care who you push the blame to. You have to hand over one of them and let the Great Tang conduct a public trial. That's all I have to say about the war. If you don't agree, I will immediately send troops. Also, the few of you have to stay behind. Don't think of going back. I am like this and don't dare to do things by the rules. Do you have anything to add? Wang Wan's attitude was very firm. It was to the extent that she was bullying them. The 7 people from Tubo all stared at Wang Wan with their eyes wide open. They didn't expect this last to be so belligerent. She wanted to start a fight at the slightest disagreement. If it wasn't for the fact that she was famous in Tubo, they would have thought that she was joking. But it wasn't the case now. If she really had such capabilities when she sent out 100,000 troops, how many Tubo troops would be able to contend against her? After hearing Wang Wan's words, Kumu Gigi was worried sick. This little girl was indeed not easy to talk to. She would say whatever she thought and didn't care about reason at all. But this little girl was different from other children. She really had the ability to lead troops to war and even win. Thinking of this, Kumu Gigi said to Wang Wan, we can talk about it slowly. There's no need to rush. I don't have the authority to decide on this matter. Why don't we wait and talk about another matter first? Okay, I'm not in a hurry. Xiaobei and the rest should be asleep already. I will talk with you for a while and won't delay telling them stories. If we can't finish talking about the war today, we will talk about it tomorrow. If we can't finish talking about it tomorrow, we will continue to postpone it until spring. I will also take a break. If the wild vegetables come out in spring and we still haven't finished talking about it, I will lead the troops to talk to the people who can really talk to you. When we reach your capital city, I think everyone will know what to talk about. When the wild vegetables come out, Xiaobao, what do you think? Wang Wan pinched a piece of cotton candy and threw it into her mouth. She smacked her lips and said to Kumu Gigi, In the end, she asked Zhang Xiaobao a question. Zhang Xiaobao was calculating how much compensation he would need from the other side. If they won the war and didn't earn a sum of money from the war, wouldn't it be a loss? It was not in line with his and Cuckoo's style of doing things. Hearing Wang Wan's question, he said, "I'm not in a hurry. Really, I'm not in a hurry at all. Anyway, we have enough food this year and we don't lack animals. Let's drag it out until spring next year. That's the time when we don't have enough food. Cuckoo, you fight on your own. Don't worry about not having enough food. I will prepare for you from other places. We have a clear division of labor. I will be in charge of logistics and you will be in charge of killing. As long as you dare to kill, I will guarantee that you will have no worries. You are my future wife. How can I let my wife suffer? Come, give me a kiss." Zhang Xiaobao said and moved his face closer. Wang Wan smiled sweetly and really kissed Zhang Xiaobao's face. "Xiaobao, I know you are the best. You know me and you know that I like to kill people. In the future, when I want to hit people, you have to do the same. Okay, if I don't help my wife, who else can I help? Give me another kiss." Zhang Xiaobao replied. Just when Kumu Jiji and the others were angry, Old Man Chang finally couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect Xiaobao and Cuckoo to be so interesting. The two countries were negotiating, not at home. Even if they were at home, he didn't see the two children kissing each other. What did they think this place was? What did they think Tubo was? Kumu Jiji had to admit that the two children in front of him were very compatible. But the problem was that this wasn't the place to flirt. Thus he said, "Cuckoo and Xiaobao are indeed a pair of beauties. Let's talk about exchanging Tubo's livestock for Tang's food first." "Thank you for the compliment." Wang Wan smiled and thanked him. "We are talking about exchanging things. I can't make this decision. Xiaobao, it's your turn. Don't calculate, they are not prepared to talk about war compensation now." Zhang Xiaobao pushed the big abacus aside and nodded. "Okay, I will do it. But, Kumu Jiji, right? How do you want to exchange? How about this, I will tell you my conditions first and let you take the initiative. What do you think?" Kumu Jiji slapped his head. He was going crazy. Why did he have to deal with these two during the negotiation? Take the initiative. When did he ever take the initiative? Since they brought it up and said it first, then he should say it. Kumu Jiji signaled Zhang Xiaobao to speak. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be excited. He rubbed his hands and his eyes lit up. He coughed and said, "Because you Tubo stirred up trouble behind the scenes, the economy of our Jianan circuit was almost destroyed and the entire financial system was damaged. Therefore, in the spirit of pacifism, we resolutely decided to help our neighbor despite the instability of our financial system. But we really can't take out too much food. For example, we don't have any rice. For example, we don't have any wheat. We can only provide you with corn. Before coming here, I believe you have already understood many things. Even if you don't, it's fine. Let me tell you. Because you have controlled the price of food in our Jianan circuit, our days are not good. In addition, you have also attacked the livestock industry at the same time, causing the livestock in our Jianan circuit to reach the point of not having enough to eat. Most of the corn will be fed to the livestock, and the rest will be given to you. A bushel of corn is 50 copper coins. How about exchanging livestock for it?" Kumu Jiji and the others were dumbfounded. These words coming from the mouth of a child made them feel very ridiculous. But this child was also very unreasonable. With such an excuse and such a price, he still scolded them. Did he have no shame? What kind of corn could cost 50 copper coins a bushel? Could it be eaten by the emperor in the capital? The people behind Kumu Jiji wanted to refute, but they were stopped by Kumu Jiji. He had his own ideas. He said, "To be honest, 50 copper coins is really expensive. But since you also don't have it easy, then we'll go with this price. Because of the war, our Tubo's food and fodder are also a lot less. It's not easy to raise livestock. A donkey, even if it's 15 copper coins, a horse pulling a carriage, even if it's 20 copper coins. How about it? So cheap? A donkey and an ordinary horse pulling a carriage only cost this much?" Zhang Xiaobao asked in surprise. "Yes." Kumu Jiji responded with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao said with a sad expression, "It's cheap, but it's a pity that the livestock we originally planned to exchange for isn't for work. We already have a tricycle, so we want to kill them for meat. If it's really this price, then it's better to get meat from elsewhere. We can't afford to raise them. Livestock eat too much. Since it's like this, we'll use the extra corn to exchange for livestock in our country. You wait for 2 months. If we still have some left, then we'll give it to you for free. We can't let your people starve to death." Zhang Xiaobao's words were very helpless, but the meaning he expressed was not helpless at all. That was, he was not exchanging and he very tactfully refused. Camus Gigi, who thought that the other party would bargain and when the time came he would also bargain. At this time he was dumbfounded. The other party actually directly refused. The two maids who were in charge of pouring tea at the side resisted the urge to laugh. They looked at Camus Gigi and the others with eyes full of pity. They thought in their hearts, you guys can't negotiate with anyone, but you have to meet the young master and young lady. You guys can't use the method you thought of previously, right? Old Man Pai and the other two were very comfortable at the side. They originally thought that this negotiation would be very difficult, because Tubo had negotiated with Tang many times before, and every time they could not achieve better results. Sometimes they would show a strong attitude but the other party would not compromise at all. The main reason was that both sides were adults, and they knew that war was not a child's play. If they could make peace then they would. Unless they were confident, then they would take the risk of threatening with war. Unexpectedly, when it was two children, the other party was helpless. Children were not like adults who thought about many things. If they felt that something was right, they would do it according to their own ideas. If an adult threatened to send troops, the Tubo people would not believe it. However, if Cuckoo said to send troops, there was absolutely nothing to doubt. This was because she did not consider other things at all, and did not consider the internal situation of the country. She just wanted to fight. Amazing, this was really too amazing. The three old men had this thought in their minds at the same time. They did not think that Cuckoo and Xiaobao did not know the price of war. However, the two children clearly knew in their hearts, but they still used the advantage of their age to put pressure on the Tubo people, and the effect was so good. However, how would Mu Gigi know the ability of Cuckoo and Xiaobao? He was indeed frightened. The two children were really easy to do things, so he asked tentatively, then how much do you think it should be to eat meat? Eat meat? Eating meat is not that expensive, and it's not like you have to eat donkeys and horses. Do you have cows? If you have cows, the price will be more expensive. A normal cow can be sold to you for 15 strings of coins. After all, the cows of Tang dynasty are not that delicious, and the imperial court is in charge of them. If it's a donkey or an ordinary horse, it's useless. We can use poultry as a substitute. Our family does this, so it's very easy to raise them. If we sell a chicken at my farmstead, it's worth 20 copper coins and weighs about 10 caddies. One caddy is only 2 copper coins. How heavy can a donkey be? I'll give you more, 200 caddies, that is 400 copper coins. How heavy can a horse be? I'll give you 400 caddies and I'll give you 600 caddies for a cow. Isn't this the price? A donkey is basically 400 copper coins, a horse is 800 copper coins, and a cow is 1,200 copper coins. This is also an extra 200 copper coins. This is still an extra calculation. How about it, do you want to exchange? When the time comes, the exact weight will have to be weighed. Of course, there is one more thing and I have to compensate you. After all, when you ship it here, sometimes the weight will be reduced. Based on our friendship, I am willing to pay you this money. A copper coin for a caddy is not a small amount, right? Zhang Xiaobao gave such a price. Using the price of a chicken, the price of livestock was based on the weight. In Zhangjia Zhuangzi of Sanshui County, the internal price of a cow could be sold for 20 copper coins. That was a lot. Who would buy someone else's cow for no reason? How is this possible? That is a donkey and a cow. Not to mention the use, even the taste is different. Kumu Gigi argued. He definitely could not sell it at such a price. How is the taste different? Indeed, it is not as delicious as chicken. My family's smoked chicken and roasted chicken are not ordinary things. That taste, I will treat you to a taste later. As long as you can make the taste of donkey and cow to such a degree, I will give you a higher price. Zhang Xiaobao also retorted. Kumu Gigi and the other 7 people had already tasted it. In Idyll there was a shop that specialized in smoking and roasting chicken. He did not know what was added, but the taste was really good, especially the pine bone chicken. When he grabbed a leg and shook it slightly, the meat would fall off. However, this was not because the chicken was really delicious. It was because the method used to make it was different. The seasonings used were also different. Even if it was livestock, if the same method was used, the taste would only be better. Kumu Gigi knew clearly in his heart, but he could not say it. He knew that once he said it, the other party would have a reason to lower the price. First, the other party would raise the price of his livestock. Then they would talk about the cost of production. In the end, it might even be lower than the current price. In a negotiation, one naturally had to pay attention to the method. However, Kumu Gigi immediately put this matter aside and said to Wang Wan, "The price is too low. Let's talk about the war. How about this? Tubo will compensate Zhang Xiaobao's family 100,000 strings of coins and give Tang 50,000 strings of coins. Then Tang will no longer send troops to Tubo. That won't do. It's too little. You have to compensate my family 200,000 strings of coins and compensate my soldiers 100,000 strings of coins. Otherwise Tang will continue to fight. Wang Wan shook her head and refused Kumujiji. She stated her conditions. It did not sound like much. In total it was only 300,000 strings of coins. For Tubo, 300,000 strings of coins could be easily taken out, but Kumujiji's purpose was not this. He asked Wang Wan again, then we will forget about what you said? When Tubo really pays the money you can't go back on your words. Write a written agreement. Okay Xiaobao, write it. Wang Wan agreed without any hesitation. Zhang Xiaobao wrote a contract. The contents were what Wang Wan said. There were 2 copies and both parties pressed their fingerprints. Kumujiji happily put it away. Just as he was about to not mention the second matter and leave to carry out the next step of the plan, Wang Wan smiled at him and said, Kumujiji, it's written on the contract. But Mujiji, it's already written on the agreement. Within a month Tubo has to send the item over. It has to reach 300,000 strings of coins. I have the agreement in my hands. If you dare to lie to me, if I don't organize an army of 300,000 to slaughter Tubo, I will hang myself at the entrance of Pengzhou. I promise to support you. Even if I have to sell all the businesses in my family, I will raise enough money for you to attack Tubo. At most, I will kill all the Tubo people and find another profitable business for my family. If I can't do it, I will hang myself there with you. Zhang Xiaobao supported her and said. When the 2 of them said this, Kumujiji's 7 people, including Old Man Pai and the other 2 people, were all moved. Their words were too ruthless. They were using their lives as a bet to threaten the other party to see if they would send troops. Kumujiji smiled awkwardly and said, You don't have to do this, right? Yes, I will do what I say. Just like when I entered Tubo and killed tens of thousands of your people, my words are final. No one can change them. Wang Wan stared into Kumujiji's eyes and said word by word. Okay, I will definitely give you 300,000 strings of coins. I will send it over within a month. Kumujiji didn't dare to doubt this little girl's determination. She was so big that she could do anything. As soon as Kumujiji agreed, Wang Wan smiled and turned to Old Man Pai and said, Grandpa Bai, quickly go to the capital and send a letter. Tell them that I have made the decision for the imperial court. When the time comes, all 200,000 strings of coins will be given to the imperial court. My family doesn't want a single coin. Old Man Pai nodded with a smile and said to Wang Wan, Cuckoo, you don't have to do this. Even if your family keeps all 300,000 strings of coins, the imperial court won't say anything. The emperor is a famous monarch. The portraits of you and Xiao Bao are pasted in the emperor's study. When you see the emperor, make some good food for the emperor. Even if you immediately mobilize all the soldiers in Jianan circuit, the emperor will still happily agree. You may not know this, but when you are leading the soldiers outside, the imperial court is waiting for news of your return every day. Even when the imperial court has stopped discussing matters, they still have to take care of the news from Idyll first. Yes, that's right. Cuckoo, you don't know how many people like you and Xiao Bao. If you agree, so be it. So what if you represent the imperial court? No one will punish you. Old Man Yao also helped to say. Wang Wan revealed a brilliant smile. She turned to the dumbfounded Kumujiji and said, Did you hear that? Hurry up and give me the money. You want to play tricks with me? You are still too inexperienced. Who am I? I'm a little girl. Who will lower themselves to the same level as a little girl. Kumujiji stared blankly at Wang Wan. He was too surprised. He was surprised by the imperial court's indulgence of Wang Wan. He was also surprised by Wang Wan's intelligence. She actually knew what he was going to do next. Yes, he wanted to sow discord through this negotiation so that the emperor of the Tang Empire would no longer believe in Wang Wan. He even wanted to punish the Zhang family and the Wang family. If he could make the Zhang family and the Wang family hate him and leave the Tang Empire, that would be even better. But what he didn't expect was that his plan was seen through as soon as it started. The news he got from the other 2 was unbelievable. The imperial court of the Tang Empire had already recognized Cuckoo and Xiao Bao. According to this, he had to give them the 300,000 strings of coins. If he didn't give them the money, Cuckoo would promise to send troops. If he was in her position, he would do the same. While Kumujiji was thinking about this, Wang Wan, who had finished eating the cotton candy, yawned and said, Let's call it a day. You send the letter back and ask. Tomorrow we will discuss the matter of exchanging livestock for food. After that, Wang Wan got up and left. Zhang Xiaobao followed her. Old Man Pai and the other 2 also left. Only 2 maids were responsible for arranging a place for Kumu Gigi and the 7 people to rest. The money for the rest was free. The Zhang family and the Wang family would bear it themselves. After Kumu Gigi returned to the place that the Zhang family arranged for him, he began to prepare the letter. After dipping the brush in ink, he suddenly didn't know what to write. Should he write that he failed in the negotiation and was schemed against by the other party when he was scheming against them, causing Tubo to lose 300,000 strings of coins? In the past, when he was complaining about the Japanese invaders, he didn't say that he would compensate the Tang Empire even if they were defeated. Today he had to give such a result? It was too late to regret. The handprint was already on the letter. If he didn't give the money, Tubo would be attacked by the Tang Empire's army this winter. Moreover, Cuckoo would be the one leading the army. After thinking for a while, Kumu Gigi felt that he had made a mistake. He sighed helplessly and began to write on the paper. The other 6 people who followed him here waited obediently at the side. Today they had seen how difficult the negotiation was. Cuckoo and Xiaobao didn't care about anything else. As long as they thought of something, they would immediately say it. They were even willing to sell all of their properties for money to attack the Tang Empire. They had never seen or even heard of such opponents before. However, the imperial court might admit that they were unlucky. They were really unlucky today. The person who looked at Wang Wan murderously at the beginning muttered, "If we had known, we would have killed the 2 of them. As long as they don't lead the army, why should we be afraid of them? Even if we die in the end." At this moment, Kumu Gigi, who had finished writing the letter, vented his anger on the person who spoke. "Then why didn't you do anything just now? Don't be so scared that you shrank back. Now, you still dare to talk about this matter? Kill, do you really think that the 2 of them are so easy to kill? There's no need for you to do anything. If you had looked at them one more time, you would have been dead by now. They don't care about the matter of not killing the envoys when 2 countries are at war." Kumu Gigi always felt that he was in danger when he sat opposite Cuckoo. He didn't know where the danger came from, but he didn't dare to do anything casually. After scolding the person who followed him, he began to think about how to exchange the livestock of Tubo for more food. Otherwise, many people would starve to death this winter. At that time, the Tang Empire would take advantage of the lack of manpower to send troops again. Tubo wouldn't have the strength to fight back. The person who was scolded didn't say anything. Kumu Gigi said something that he didn't want to mention. At that time, when he was stared at by Zhang Xiaobao, he felt that his soul was about to leave. It was as if he would be killed in the next moment. The other 5 people also became silent. They were very helpless about the result of today's negotiation. They couldn't help much and couldn't show the Tubo's imposing manner. The other party kept saying that they would send troops. What imposing manner was there to speak of? After Kumu Gigi sent the letter away, he felt as if he had just been fished out of the water. His clothes were drenched in sweat. Chapter 653. Let's not talk about giving you 100,000 soldiers. If you go out now and only bring 100 people with you, do you think Tubo will immediately mobilize the entire country? Just based on your reputation, you can make the Tubo Empire mobilize 50,000 soldiers for you. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao knew that Wang Wan had thought it through. If Wang Wan didn't say it herself, then he would say it himself. He would praise her and make her happy. Sure enough, Wang Wan was happy. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Actually, you're not bad. When everyone looks at you now, they only think that you've won the economic war. They don't know that a real strategist, even in the financial field, will not admit that winning the other party in their own country is a victory. How can a person like you be willing to defend passively?" It was Zhang Xiaobao, Mi Fan, and the rest who took action with your plan. This time, if they don't cause Tubo's economy to regress by 10 years, I don't believe you will be satisfied. I estimate that within a month after spring plowing, your plan will be able to produce results that will make people stop. I'm also looking forward to that moment. Don't talk nonsense. I've never thought of invading other people. I just sent people over to help the local economy develop. As for what mistakes there were, that's because I didn't consider them. But my intentions were good, so you can't deny it. Didn't Grandpa Bai and the others want to see what the advanced style was? Great Tang doesn't have a chance, but Tubo can. I will set up a bank in Tubo and start investing. I will let that so-called expert in Tubo know how much leverage can be used in finance. So what if it's Tubo? 100 years ago, someone had shaken up the British financial system. I've never thought that I'm worse than him. Since we can't fight in the same era, I'll fulfill my dream here. Zhang Xiaobao said with regret. He really wanted to compete with the experts of the past, but in the era he lived in, there was no such situation. Everyone learned and became smarter, and the economic structure became more and more stable. This stability was not a fixed pattern but a flowing pattern. The people of the world finally realized that the economic aspect was the same as the aspect of war. There was no fixed pattern, but when all the methods were used, it was not easy to succeed. Otherwise, how could he have swindled so little money? Although for many people in the world, that amount of money was already shocking, he was not satisfied. If he wanted to complete the things he wanted to build in his country, he still needed a lot more. Wang Wan laughed twice. She held Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and said to him, "You are too bad. You went to other countries to make trouble. It's not that the Tubo masters don't understand the principle of leverage, it's just that you didn't give them a chance. When they wanted to touch salt, which is the most important thing to the people's livelihood, you guarded it so strictly. When the other party finally managed to generate several times the leverage in terms of food and livestock through the bank, you immediately used irregular means to offset it. You used 250,000 strings of cash to fight against an opponent with 400,000 strings of cash and swallowed all the money invested by the opponent. How can you still say such things?" Zhang Xiaobao sighed. "It's not that I want to deal with him, but he's gone too far. Besides, why should I treat him as an opponent? Look at the way he operates. Is that how he uses financial leverage? Needless to say, if you weren't busy with the war at that time, you would have dealt with him. He didn't even secretly set up a plan, so how could he make a move on everything related to the people's livelihood at the same time? Why didn't he hide in secret first? He really thought that the great Tang was his people. He didn't take in the early stage and put on a strong offensive posture right from the start. He moved the food, the livestock, the salt and oil. Can oil make him move? Lighting needs oil, eating needs oil. If he really succeeds, it will produce a kind of effect. That is, the people who originally planted food will no longer plant food and will instead plant rapes. Perhaps he doesn't know what's going to happen next. He's only focused on attacking Jianan Circuit's current economic system. If he really manages to control the price of oil, the price of food will definitely be affected for a long period of time. How much effort will I have to put in if I want to make a move? There's no need to talk about salt. There can't be too big of a fluctuation in this industry. To be honest, I have never thought of waging an all-out war with 400,000 strings of cash like him. If I wasn't in a hurry to obtain results, I wouldn't have made a move. It's enough to have Xinxin deal with him." Wang Wan tilted her head and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. She liked Zhang Xiaobao's current appearance the most. His arrogance in the field of economics wasn't the slightest bit inferior to her leading the army. Similarly, with a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of heads would fall to the ground. Most importantly, Zhang Xiaobao clearly had greater abilities, but he didn't display them in order to give the great Tang a chance to advance step by step. Many times it was easy to succeed by stepping on the pain of others, but it wasn't easy to give up for the happiness of others. "Xiaobao, sometimes I think that if, and I'm saying if, I wasn't working in the Special Second Bureau and was by your side swindling people together with you, and then using the money we swindled on the children of our country, wouldn't it be great? The moment you saved that child, the one who made a move wasn't you, but me. That pine hair bomb definitely wouldn't have exploded. It's too easy to deal with an ordinary person." Wang Wan sighed emotionally to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao forcefully shook his head. "Don't. If you had made a move at that time, I would have definitely captured him. I don't have much time left. Don't look at how formidable I am. My body is already finished due to the lack of nutrition and survival experience. At that time there was no other way, not even if I knew the reason. I don't regret it one bit. That idiot really thought that I would give him money. In truth, I couldn't withdraw any money from those bank notes. They were already empty. The happiest thing was that I brought you along. At the very least, I won't be lonely in this life." "You're too selfish. I still have family. There are many nights when I dream of them, but I know that they won't show it because their position doesn't allow it. Sometimes they accept their fate, sometimes they deliberately forget. But who told me to choose that profession? I still have one regret, which is that you didn't say anything. If you wanted to escape, tell me how to do it. I've already arranged for many people to monitor you." Speaking of this topic, Wang Wan was no longer as happy as before. Perhaps heroes also had their own regrets. Although she had no choice but to do so, if she was given another chance to choose, she would still have to do so. Zhang Xiaobao was very unwilling to talk about this matter. In the past he had mentioned one person, which was Wang Wan's colleague, who had been bribed. But there were many more people. If Wang Wan knew that there were not many people she could trust around her, it would be too cruel. Today when he heard Wang Wan ask, Zhang Xiaobao hesitated for a moment and said, "Half of your snipers are my people. In positions that you can't imagine, they're also my snipers. They're not your people. Before we came over, do you remember that there was a pregnant woman beside that criminal? She didn't have a child's belly under her clothes, but a large amount of colorless and odorless anesthetic. There was also a silenced pistol and a 50-meter fixed target. She was 100% accurate. I know this, but I didn't arrange it. There was a beggar with a broken leg under her feet. That beggar's leg was broken because he joined the mercenary army and experienced dozens of wars. There was also the child who pulled him away. That child is 40 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying? I understand. So there are not many people I can trust around me. Well, I believe that they are definitely not having a good time. Don't you think so? My family will help me find out. Those who receive benefits from you, don't even think about escaping. I sacrificed myself. No matter how strong the other party's backing is, they will have to compromise with my family. After all, I paid the price with my life. Wang finally understood. Her family would be there to avenge her. Everyone who wasn't loyal to her would be finished. Perhaps they would die of illness, or perhaps they would get into an accident after they were removed from their positions. The only thing she didn't expect was that Zhang Xiaobao would do it himself under such circumstances. Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about his own life at that time? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang had nothing else to talk about. When they talked about the past, Mu Jiji and the others were in a very uncomfortable situation. They wanted to get in touch with the servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family so that they could get more information from the servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family. However, they failed. The servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family always smiled at them, but this kind of smile was of no help to them. No matter what they asked, the servants would smile at them and say that they couldn't tell them and that they should think of a solution by themselves. It seemed to be a very considerate answer, but they didn't feel considerate at all. I really can't think of a good way now. Since I sent you here to cooperate with me, shouldn't you say something? Mu Jiji, who couldn't think of a solution, said to the people who came with him. The six of them looked at each other. It was not that they didn't want to say anything, but they really couldn't say anything. They came here in advance to inquire about information, but the information they got was of no use to them at all. Mu Jiji looked at the people he brought with him and said helplessly, "Well, let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about the Zhang family and the Wang family. If we can't find a breakthrough in other aspects, think of a way to break through from the inside of the Zhang family and the Wang family. I don't believe that they are really a piece of iron." The other six people still had the same expression. They really didn't know much about the Zhang family and the Wang family. The information they got before was known to everyone. As for the internal information, there was no information at all. Chapter 654. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang deliberately delayed the negotiations for several days. Half a month after the arrival of the Tubo people, a large amount of snow fell. If it weren't for the fact that the roads in Idyll were well built, they would have been sealed off. The Tubo people didn't have it easy either. Only Idyll had a small snowflake. Before the people of Idyll could enjoy it, it turned into a light drizzle. Mu Jiji didn't stay idle during this period of time. He asked the people to gather information about the Zhang family and Wang family. He also sent gifts to the original 11 local Yamen officials, asking them to help him think of a solution. The people weren't willing to pay attention to the Tubo people. If they weren't here to negotiate, they would probably tear Mu Jiji and the others apart. After receiving the gifts, they started talking about the Zhang family and Wang family. Everyone said good things and praised the Zhang family and Wang family. Obviously, this kind of praise wasn't what Mu Jiji wanted to know. He wanted to get information from the local people about the rebellion of the Zhang family and Wang family. When the time came, he would play dirty tricks on Zhang Zhong. The people of the Yamen received even more gifts. Mu Jiji gave pearls, jade wares, and exquisite gold and silver ornaments. Every time he gave something, the other party would accept it. However, when it came to the work, they were full of helplessness. They talked about how hard they worked and how they were reprimanded. In any case, they didn't succeed and the gifts weren't returned. The moment the heavy snow fell, Mu Jiji knew he couldn't delay any longer. It wasn't easy for him to dig up grass now. He could only send someone to find Zhang Xiaobao and Wang to discuss the matter of exchanging livestock for food. Zhang Xiaobao also felt that the time was about right. He began to give a normal price, the kind that was relatively low. He lowered the price of all livestock by 50% and only calculated based on the weight of the animals after they were delivered. He didn't calculate by head. He also didn't want the animals that were dead. Who knew if they died of illness? What if people fell ill after eating them? In terms of grain, they still only sold millet, saying that it was good for people to eat it. Those who were in confinement all ate millet and eggs. The price was also very generously reduced to 40 copper coins per bushel. Just as Kumu was about to rejoice, Zhang Xiaobao brought up the matter of the transportation fees. The war had just ended, so it was impossible for the Tubo people to rush in all at once. They needed to hand over the goods at the border of Pengzhou. This section of the road was not easy to travel now. It was snowing, so they would need to increase the transportation fees by 20%, which amounted to 48 copper coins per bushel. This price was already 3 times the normal price, but Mu Jiji reluctantly agreed. He was afraid that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would suddenly go back on their word. He didn't know if the written agreement would be useful or not, so he quickly sent people back to Tufan to collect livestock. After calculating, it would cost a lot of money to transport the livestock over, and it would cost a lot more to transport the grain back. If he really waited for the Tubo people to eat it, the price of a bushel of millet would be estimated to be more than 100 copper coins. However, Mu Jiji wasn't sure if the Tubo people would agree, but a notice had already been posted in Idyll. They would only accept millet and use old grain to exchange for new grain. The exchange rate was 1:2. That was to say, a caddy of old millet could be exchanged for a caddy of more than 3 taels of new grain. Once the notice was posted, the people who heard the news and felt that the transportation fee was worth it thought that Zhang Zhong had gone crazy. If there was new grain, who would want to eat old grain? If other people exchanged grain, they would use it to brew wine. They would use less new grain to exchange for more old grain. However, Zhang Zhong was different. He had transferred to a place closer to Idyll. Even if he added the transportation fee, he would only receive an extra 3 taels of grain, which was exactly the same as the original amount. But Mu Jiji also found out about this matter. He went to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said that he wanted to exchange for new grain and not old grain. Zhang Xiaobao took out the contract and showed it to him. There was a sentence on the contract: Tubo is willing to use the specific standard of livestock recognized by the Great Tang in exchange for the grain stored by the Great Tang after a certain number of people in and around Idyll of the Great Tang's Jianan province in the past year. In other words, Zhang Xiaobao had added punctuation marks according to the Great Tang's habits. However, he didn't add any punctuation marks in this sentence because he was afraid that someone would find fault with it. In order to ensure that there would be no mistakes, it was also written at the bottom of the contract that the Great Tang had the final right to interpret the contract. Mu Jiji looked at the line of words and thought for a while. He finally understood what it meant. At the beginning, it meant that there had to be at least enough grain for the Great Tang's people to eat before the rest could be exchanged with him. After all, some people had stored grain at home. When he read the contract, he understood it this way. However, he didn't know that it didn't mean this at all. Wasn't the previous year's grain just old grain? So it turned out that they wanted to exchange this portion for him? Then the price would be even higher. After the people of Tufan got the result of Mu Jiji's negotiation, it was too expensive to exchange grain. However, considering that they only had to compensate 300,000 strings of coins and they didn't have to worry about Cuckoo attacking them again when she was in Idyll, the price seemed to be lower. Although they didn't pay in the past, they didn't pay even if they couldn't win. This time was different. In the past, there was no one as ruthless as Cuckoo to lead an army. She had to wait until her family left Idyll and she recovered. She had to survive through this winter. Therefore, she agreed to collect the livestock. The better ones would be kept and the average ones would be sent to the Great Tang. She also reminded them not to forget to give the livestock more water before the exchange. If they didn't drink, they had to force them to drink. In the exchange of goods between the two countries, some places were far away and it would take at least a month to complete. This was considered fast. By that time it would be the new year. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also sincerely wished Mu Jiji well, hoping that the people of Tufan could have a good new year. Suddenly the people of Tufan could live and work in peace. The two countries could maintain peaceful coexistence, strengthen economic exchanges, and work together to create a harmonious and stable border environment. Mu Jiji finally knew why the people of war were so afraid of Cuckoo. She was too shameless. If you didn't beat me, kill my people, and burn my grain, would I not have any grain to eat? They also had to strengthen economic exchanges. According to this exchange, if there were 2 more times, Tufan wouldn't need anyone to fight. They would be gone. Old Man Pai and the other 2 followed them at the beginning. They were afraid that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wouldn't know how to negotiate and would be at a disadvantage. Later on, the 3 old men were busy with their own things and didn't care about the 2 at all. They realized that even if they were the ones negotiating with Tufan, they wouldn't be able to reach the level of the 2 children. During the negotiation, they would talk back to each other and then slap the table and glare at each other. They would say that it wasn't easy to gather food and then say that they would gather enough food and send it over immediately. The words that came out of their mouth didn't sound like what a normal person would say. Normal people wouldn't be able to do this. Don't worry, they were completely relieved. In the future, if there was anything that needed to be negotiated, they would let the two children go. Moreover, the two children were smart. Before they went to Tufan to fight, they didn't know how to speak the Tufan language. After they came back, they could speak the Tufan language fluently and could even speak the dialects of different regions. One moment they would speak the local language and the next moment they would speak the Tufan language. Whenever they spoke the Tufan language, they were trying to build feelings. When did feelings appear on the negotiation table? It seems that when I always looked for them and asked them to give something in the past, it wasn't that they couldn't win against me in terms of words. Instead, they gave in to me and followed my words. They are really good children and very considerate. Old Man Pai watched Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's negotiation with others. He finally realized that whenever he said something, the two children would immediately follow his words. In the end, they would suffer a small loss. It wasn't that they didn't understand, but that they did it on purpose. Old Man Chang also admitted, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are really good. They are gentle to their own people and cold to outsiders. This time, the imperial court has decreed that they don't want the 300,000 strings of cash. It seems that the Zhang family and the Wang family don't want it either. I wonder how they will arrange it. Will they use it to compensate for the old grain with the new grain? Probably, but I can't be sure. We'll know when we see. Old Man Yao couldn't be sure. After all, the Zhang family had too many tricks up their sleeves. No one knew what they wanted to achieve in the end. Li Longji also received detailed information about the war and economic war in the capital. There was also the roasted camel hump personally made by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for him and Gao Lishur. Anyway, they were going to the military rest stop, so it didn't matter if they brought some food. They sealed the food to prevent people from poisoning them on the way. The two of them stayed in a house built by Li Sun next to Xingqing Palace. They enjoyed the camel hump warmed by the charcoal fire while reading the information. Gao Lishur's wish had finally come true. Xiao Bao was willing to acknowledge him as his godfather. Firstly, it was because there was someone in the imperial court who was easy to talk to. Secondly, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had a very good opinion of Gao Lishur. At the very least, it was better than Li Bai, who had yet to be found. Wang Wan felt that since Li Bai had great ambitions and wanted to participate in politics, he should drink less. If he really needed to manage something, he would be called upon at a critical moment. Who could stand that? Gao Lishur held Zhang Xiaobao's letter and read it over and over again. First he agreed to it. When they returned to the capital, he would settle everything. Acknowledging someone as his godfather wasn't something that could be done just by saying it. It was quite troublesome. Zhang Xiaobao's ultimate goal was to influence the entire Tang Empire through Gao Lishur. It was too time-consuming to constantly work hard to change the current situation from below. Li Longji looked at the happy Gao Lishur and felt a little envious. He also wanted to acknowledge Xiao Bao or Cuckoo as his godchild or princess, but he knew that he couldn't do that now. After reading the letter a few times, Gao Lishur checked the food box to make sure that no one else had touched it. Then he checked the mark sent by the pigeon and confirmed that it was really made by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. He didn't ask anyone to test the poison and directly opened the box to taste it himself. After waiting for an hour and seeing that nothing was wrong, he said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, you should try it too. It's delicious, better than the food made by the imperial chefs in the palace." Seeing that Gao Lishur wasn't poisoned, Li Longji picked up his chopsticks and picked up some food from the food box. Before putting it into his mouth, he said, "It's naturally delicious for you, Lishur. Even if they send you rocks, you can still crack a little bit. In the future, you can't mix state and family affairs together." After giving Gao Lishur a warning, Li Longji put the food into his mouth and savored it carefully. Then he said to Gao Lishur, "When they return to the capital, bring them to the palace to play. There are many ingredients in the imperial kitchen." Gao Lishur, who was eating with Li Longji, immediately understood. He scooped up the food in his bowl and ate it carefully. Then he stopped eating and gave the rest to Li Longji. Chapter 655. Li Longji ate quite well this time. Originally, the amount was enough for 2 people, but he ate all of it. He was so full that he took Dashin pills and chewed them in his mouth. He even looked at the empty food box with a reluctant expression. Gao Lishur only ate and didn't eat. He kept smelling the food and swallowed his saliva. He decided to find some time to go to Savant's restaurant to see if it was similar. That restaurant was also owned by the Zhang family. The palace maid beside them brought tea. The two of them slowly drank the tea and looked at the information that was sent. From time to time, they would talk about what they would do if they were in the same situation. Someone apologized and spread the news that the emperor ate the food that was sent to Idyll. In a short time, many people who were paying attention to this matter knew about it. When the ministers heard about it, they didn't have any reaction. Xiaobao and Cuckoo specially prepared the food that was sent over, so how could they dare to poison it? Besides, the emperor couldn't eat it first. The concubines in the palace didn't feel anything when they heard about it. Wasn't the emperor fine now? However, the people in the imperial kitchen were different. It was their job to make food for the emperor, but now it was taken away by someone else. Immediately, the eunuch in charge of the imperial kitchen came to find him. He didn't dare to enter the hall and just cried silently outside. The main reason was that he was under too much pressure. It was fine if it was someone else who sent the food, but it was only the Zhang family. The Zhang family had a restaurant in the capital. If the emperor was happy and replaced the current imperial kitchen with the Zhang families, how would he manage it in the future? Could he buy an egg for 5 copper coins? Li Longji and Gao Lishir didn't know that someone was crying in grievance. They were still looking at the information and discussing matters. The people guarding outside saw that someone was crying, but they couldn't report it. The emperor was in a happy mood, and they couldn't afford to be punished if they disturbed his mood. It wasn't a big matter for the country. The little eunuch could only secretly wipe his tears. He wondered what exactly made the emperor eat and whether the imperial kitchen should also make some. Lishir, what do you think should be done when Zhang Zhong comes back after the new year? We can't just leave Xiao Bao and Cuckoo at home, Li Longji said to Gao Lishir after looking through the documents. Your Majesty, this subject believes that Zhang Zhong will be going to Luoyang to stay there for at least a year. Otherwise, if he returns to the capital, it will be very easy for him to not be able to handle the various matters. As for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they can be placed in Luoyang as minor officials. It would be fine even if they were county magistrates. Gao Lishir considered for a moment before replying. Li Longji nodded in approval of the first arrangement. However, he had his own thoughts about the second arrangement. Why don't we arrange for you to move to Wanyan County, which is located at the foot of the capital? That way you can spend more time there. Don't the Zhang family and the Wang family still have 4 children? There's nothing to be afraid of even if there are only 2 of them. This subject feels that we should ask them when we return. Gao Lishir also wanted to arrange for the 2 children to be by his side, but he was worried that their families wouldn't agree. Li Longji didn't say anything this time. It could be considered that he approved of Gao Lishir's suggestion. At this moment, the sky outside turned dark again. A gust of wind mixed with snowflakes blew in through the open doors of the hall. The snowflakes melted in the air and disappeared without a trace. Li Longji felt the sudden coolness and sized up the house that his nephew had built for him. He sighed. I wonder if there will be heavy snow this year. If it continues for a few days, some places will be affected. If the snow in Idyll is also heavy, they might not be able to set off immediately after the new year. Why don't we let them return now to avoid the snow blocking the road? It's better to ask first. Otherwise we will have to spend the new year on the road. Gao Lishir was worried that the road would be uncomfortable. The matter that Li Longji and Gao Lishir discussed was quickly sent to Idyll via a military relay station. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan secretly ordered people to work. The 2 of them didn't want to spend the 300,000 strings of coins they earned on the local people. They already had other ways to take care of the local people. The money had other uses. Xiaobao, when do you think they will find out? I'm afraid that they won't agree. Wang Wan held a snowball and gently rubbed it on her hand as she asked Zhang Xiaobao. I don't believe that they will be so kind as to make a deal. When the time comes, we will be even. It's winter. I hope that the snow will be more uniform this year and not fall in one place. When the time comes, some places will be short of water and some will be affected by disasters. We can't just stand by and watch. We don't have enough manpower, so we have to part with some of them and it will affect the arrangements when we return. Zhang Xiaobao was afraid of the muddy road when the snow melted, especially in this place. When they returned, they couldn't take the Yellow River or the Yangtze River by boat. Then let's go back early. Don't spend the new year here. We still have to make other arrangements. It's okay to spend the new year on the road. We can spend the new year together. Anywhere is fine. Wang Wan always felt that it was a waste of time here. If they really wanted to help the local people, they didn't need to put all of their people in Idyll. They could just arrange a few people in the inner courtyard. After a while, the officials in Jianan Circuit would no longer listen to their orders. While the 2 of them were discussing, Gao Lishir's letter came, asking if they were willing to go back early. It was exactly what the two of them wanted. They left the work to others and hurried back to discuss it. No matter where the family would spend the new year, Xiaobao and Cuckoo would be the main focus. This would provide a very good environment for the two of them to develop. When the people in Idyll heard that they were leaving, they didn't want to do anything. Normally they wouldn't ask Zhang Zhong to do anything for them. As long as Zhang Zhong stayed in Idyll they would feel relieved. Now that they heard that Zhang Zhong was going to leave after the new year, the clan leaders came over to persuade him. Zhang Zhong had already made his decision. He could only comfort the clan leaders that they could look for him when they had time, or they could find some time to come over themselves. Usually, as long as they had people, they would send news here and bring the local specialties for everyone to taste. When the people saw that they couldn't keep Zhang Zhong, they also knew that he had a better future. They began to prepare things at home so that they could bring along Zhang Zhong. They also sent the young people and their families to follow Zhang Zhong. One of them was to listen to Zhang Zhong's words and assist him, and the other was to have the opportunity to learn more things. However, Mu Jiji was also watching from Ijo. When he heard that the Zhang family and Wang family were going to leave, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he saw how popular Zhang Zhong was with the people, he no longer doubted Demon Fiend Cuckoo's words. With the support of the people, she could definitely form an army in a short time with just a call. Coupled with the financial resources of the two families, they could fight whenever they wanted. Chang, whose two children had just learned how to speak. They also knew how to wash their hands before eating and after playing. This made him hesitate. In the end, he gritted his teeth and allowed Zhang Zhong to bring them along. Lu Zhou was the son that Zhang Zhong had acknowledged, and he usually treated them like his own family. He believed that the two children would not be wronged. When the preparations for leaving were almost done, the livestock from Tubo had also arrived at the pass and were waiting to be handed over. They were even escorted by 5,000 soldiers. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao only brought along a group of commoners who were in charge of transporting grain before they set off. Shui Yun followed them as well. There were no other guards. Mu Jiji looked at them and secretly praised them for their courage. After a few days, the grain that was transported first arrived at the pass. Wang Wan, accompanied by Zhang Xiaobao, rode out and faced the 5,000 soldiers of Tubo head-on. Step by step, the 5,000 soldiers retreated step by step. They did not dare to look directly at Wang Wan. This made the commoners in charge of transporting grain extremely excited. This was how awe-inspiring they were. On the other hand, the commoners in charge of transporting the livestock were speechless. They were a 5,000-strong army, but they were suppressed by the other party's 2 people and 2 horses. What else could they say? Wang Wan nodded in satisfaction. She said to Mu Jiji, "We can start the exchange now. Weigh them." First they would weigh the grain. After weighing the grain that arrived first, they would weigh the livestock according to the price. All the livestock that were weighed would be fed medicine by the commoners of Great Tang. When he saw this, Mu Jiji was stunned. After the corresponding livestock was changed, before he could ask, he smelled a foul stench that assailed his nostrils. Whether it was the livestock that were changed or not, most of them had diarrhea. Mu Jiji was shocked. He did not know that the livestock that was to be exchanged had been fed water. No wonder Cuckoo asked people to feed them medicine. It turned out that she already knew. What should he do? Mu Jiji looked at Wang Wan worriedly. Wang Wan returned him a smile. This matter is like this. Our Tubo livestock, it's okay. I can understand. We can understand each other. Get someone to feed them medicine. I brought a lot of medicine this time. Wang Wan still had a smile on her face. Mu Jiji did not know if it was true or not. He looked at Wang Wan carefully and found that she did not seem to be angry. Only then did he wipe the sweat that had just seeped out of his forehead. He also smiled and said, "Yes, we can understand each other. It should be like this. Feed them, immediately feed them." With a command, the Tubo commoners took the medicine from the Great Tang people and began to feed the livestock. When the medicine was being fed, a Tubo commoner opened a bag of rice. After taking a look, he shouted to Mu Jiji, "They mixed sand in the rice. This handful of rice, at least 10% of it is sand." However, Mu Jiji was stunned when he heard that. He turned to look at Wang Wan, wanting an explanation. Wang Wan pointed at the animals that were still being fed medicine and said, "Maybe it's because the Tang Empire's people have been eating rice for too long. I'm going to lose money this time. I used new grains to exchange for it. So, let's understand each other. Otherwise you're 5,000 soldiers. I understand. They kept it for too long. They really kept it for too long. The army is afraid that people will cause trouble. During peacetime they are not used for war." Mu Jiji understood many things. He knew why Wang Wan did not pursue the matter of the animals being fed water. He also knew why they were willing to increase the price by 10% to exchange the old grain with the new grain. It was too deceptive. How could they pass all the sand out of the rice? Who asked them to feed the animals water? How did Wang Wan and the rest know? If 10% of the rice was mixed with sand, how much water could the animals be fed? If they did not, he could ask for an explanation. Now, it looked like they were even, but it was not the case at all. The Tubo people also considered the fact that their side was filled with water, so they could only accept it helplessly. They only hoped that the Tubo people would choose first. Otherwise, when the grains were distributed, they would not be able to eat enough. The animals were forced to drink water and had diarrhea. Some of them died while others were fine. The dead Wang Wan was also bought, but the price was reduced by half. They only gave some money for the meat. When the living animals were almost treated, all the food was transported over. In the end, in these few days the animals became even thinner. They did not manage to exchange all the grains that were transported over. When they came over, they weighed the grains and it was just enough to exchange all the grains prepared by the great Tang. Firstly, the weight of the animals was not enough. There were also some that died. Secondly, the grains from the great Tang increased by 10%. Similarly, the animals also needed 10% more. Mu Jiji looked at the remaining grains and then looked at Wang Wan. What should he do? I am a good person. Since the grains have been transported over, I can't possibly take them back. It is not easy for the Tubo people. How about this? I see that there are a few hundred horses and weapons in your army. Give them all to me. The rest of the grains will be yours. If you are not willing to exchange, you can also take them away. It is just that there are a lot of grains but not enough horses. Be careful if you encounter bandits on the road. I can't possibly personally lead the light cavalry to protect you. Wang Wan stood from the Tubo people's point of view and helped to think of a solution. She had a pained expression as she wanted to exchange for the Tubo people's horses and weapons. She did not want the leather armor on her as it was not valuable. However, Mu Jiji did not have the final say. He could only look for the general and ask if he was willing to exchange. He told the general about Wang Wan's threat. The general helplessly nodded his head and agreed. He did not dare to make a move on Wang Wan now. If he could not make Wang Wan stay, then he would have to wait for revenge. The soldiers left their weapons and horses behind and joined the grain transport team. When they walked back, all of them lowered their heads. Wang Wan also commanded the people to walk back to Pengzhou City. All of them puffed out their chests. The officials from Pengzhou also stood on the city walls and watched. They were worried that the Tubo people would capture Cuckoo and Xiaobao. They did not expect that everything would go smoothly and they would be able to return. When they found out that the Tubo people left behind their weapons and horses, the officials were speechless. Demonfians were indeed Demonfians. When Wang Wan entered the city, the officials surrounded her. They wanted to take a good look at this little lass. Wang Wan said sadly to the officials, we've lost. We only had 20% of our grain left in exchange for these weapons and horses. Sigh. I was too soft-hearted and was afraid that the Tubo people would not have enough to eat. The officials were stunned for a moment. Finally, someone reacted and advised, that's right. Cuckoo is soft-hearted and is a good person. The Tubo people should be grateful to Cuckoo. The other officials agreed one after another. Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan still wanted to say something, so he nudged her. All right, let's go back quickly. We're going to leave soon. Don't waste time. What is there to be grateful to you for? Mixing in 10% of the sand? Or using that broken grain to exchange for a lot of ironware and horses? Let's go. The weapons need to be melted into iron ingots first so that they can be made into farming tools. A knife can be made into 3 or 4 kitchen knives. A dozen arrowheads can be made into a plow knife. Wang Wan thought about it and agreed. They were in a hurry, so she informed the officials and hurried back to Idyll with a large amount of livestock. She left the military horses for Pengzhou. They could form a cavalry camp, but she had no place to bring them with her. After scamming the Tubo people and earning a lot of livestock, she arranged for the people in the inner courtyard to be in charge of the local management. Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family quickly packed up and embarked on the journey back to the capital. Countless people sent them off. Just the local specialties alone filled up more than 100 carriages. They couldn't refuse even if they wanted to. Before Zhang Xiaobao left, he didn't forget to write a letter to Tubo. He told them to get along peacefully and to try their best not to have bandits intercept his caravan in the desert. Otherwise, Cuckoo would be very sad and angry. Chapter 656. After bidding farewell to the people of Idyll and the nearby residents, the Zhang family and Wang family raised the flag and began to walk along the winding road to the capital. From here to the capital, it was a distance of nearly 2,000 li, enough to take some time. Walking 20 to 30 li a day was considered fast, but when the road was difficult to walk on, they couldn't move even one step for a long time. In addition, there was a large amount of snow this year. Even Idyll and Chengdu had light snow, not to mention other places. 5 days later, when Zhang Zhong saw the team carefully protecting the livestock on the road, he found his son and daughter-in-law and said to them, "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, the road from Jianan Road to the capital really needs to be repaired." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other blankly, and their expressions changed. The words coming out of Zhang Zhong's mouth were more frightening than asking Zhang Xiaobao to use 50,000 strings of cash to fight an economic war against 400,000 strings of cash, or asking Wang Wan to lead 1,000 people to fight against the Tubo army. Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips and asked with concern, "Father, are you tired? Why don't we let someone carry you and go to the bend in front? That way we can speed up a bit." "I'm not tired. Even if I'm tired, it's fine. There are so many people helping each other and resting while walking. But the people are tired. Don't we have explosives and cement at home? We'll use explosives to blow up the mountain and reinforce it with cement. We've already repaired it from Idyll and it's still being repaired there. It's just right to connect." Zhang Zhong frowned and said with concern for the people. Zhang Xiaobao estimated the cost of repairing the road from Idyll to Chengdu, as well as the main roads around it. It would cost 600,000 strings of cash. How far would that be? Unless it was done blindly, it would be cheap to use a road that would be ruined in 2 years. His father obviously didn't mean to repair the road that only cared about political achievements and didn't care about the people. How much would that cost? If they were to convert all of the assets of the Zhang family and the Wang family into money and ask Li Sun to fork out some money, they would be lucky if they could build a third of the road. Furthermore, it couldn't be too wide and they would have to take a detour when they encountered mountains. There was also maintenance to be done. One was cold and the other was hot. There was no such technique to lay a foundation, and the sand and soil layers were easily damaged. If there was a flood, how much money would they have to invest every year? Zhang Xiaobao felt that this mission was too difficult. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. If the heavens were good, he could just make a big hot air balloon and go up. How much would that cost? Seeing that his son was not speaking, Zhang Zhong suggested, "Or you can build a canal. You two have to think of a way." "Father, it's better to repair the road. We have to wait. When we occupy 2 more islands overseas, we should have enough money at home. How can we get other merchants involved? If everyone works together, the road will be repaired, and we can even let the merchants who have to work hard to maintain it." Zhang Xiaobao first drew a big picture for his father and agreed. They would talk about it later. Zhang Zhong thought that with his son and daughter-in-law, it would be easy to build a road. Seeing that his son had agreed, he smiled and nodded. He put his hands behind his back and went to look at other places. Wang Wan nudged Zhang Xiaobao, "Are you really planning to build a road from Xi'an to Chengdu? That depends on whether the benefits from this road are enough. If the benefits are enough, we will build it. If the benefits are not enough, we will delay it." Zhang Xiaobao did not deny or confirm. What benefits can this road bring? Is it just to make transportation between the 2 places more convenient? Wang Wan felt that there was no value in building it. At least they couldn't build it now. The cost was not proportional to the benefits. If it was only for the convenience of a small number of people, it was better to invest the money elsewhere. If it was because of the military, that was still acceptable. However, this was not her problem, but Li Longji's problem. Zhang Xiaobao looked around. Seeing that Old Man Pai and the other 2 were not around, he whispered to Wang Wan, "This road doesn't bring much benefits, but the Silk Road and the Tea-Horse Path are. When the demand in the country gradually increases and conflicts become more concentrated, it will be impossible not to expand. When the time comes, you can lead the army and conquer all of them. I don't believe that the great Tang, no, the great Qin can't defeat the Abbasid Caliphate. Invasion, annexation, plunder, this is the essence of the existence of animals. If someone criticizes us, we will say that we are promoting integration. No one criticizes us. The people of this era are not as bored as we were back then. Even a pig in a cage would object. Are you saying that you don't intend to invest the money to build the road right away?" Wang Wan felt that the people of this era were truly too kind. "I'm not going to fix it. I want to make the bustling places even more bustling first. Then I'll drive the surrounding areas to gradually become more prosperous. Chengdu is actually not bad. It's just that the surrounding areas are not good. Doing so will cause many people in remote areas to suffer from a lack of material resources for a certain period of time. But overall, it's more cost-effective than directly investing money in remote areas. Zhang Xiaobao already had a plan in mind. From an individual point of view, every place and every person had to be taken care of. From a general point of view, even if the remote areas suffered losses, they could use the resources of the flourishing places to supplement them. However, if they invested the money that should be used to make the flourishing places more prosperous, before the flourishing places developed to a certain extent, the efficiency of the money would be greatly reduced. This was a very unfair method, but he still had to do it. Wang Wan had no idea what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about. She considered the matter of the war and said, "It won't be easy. The main problem is the religious and ethnic habits, and the adaptability of the army. The sky over there is very blue, but there isn't enough air pressure. If we send the soldiers from the south there, more than half of them won't be able to hold on. If we send the soldiers from the Jianan circuit, they should be able to hold on a little longer. I'm talking about the people living in the Jianan highlands. Then you have to follow up with your plans. I can't just occupy the entire area without anything to provide me with, including resources and culture. If we really conquer it, I won't have to come back. I'll just play around there with nothing to do. Of course, we're not in a hurry yet. No matter what, we'll have to wait for a long time. That's the land route. The main thing is that we should go back and rest. Give me enough time to carry out a large-scale economic plan. It would be great if we had a corresponding team. The ability of the inner court isn't enough, so I'm going to change the rules of the game of Monopoly again. I'll check the 8 generations of the people who are qualified to join the study and research team. These kinds of talents must not be allowed to leave. Let's go, half of the team has already passed. We'll walk in front and take a look at the local environment. If we can make a small investment, we'll arrange it first." Zhang Xiaobao talked about his plans for the future, then shifted his gaze back to the present. He wanted to give the people living in places with poor lives a chance. He wanted to invest some money and let the locals try to develop on their own. If they couldn't develop, it would be easier for him to adjust and make targeted plans. Zhang Zhong strolled around for a while before he found Old Man Pai and the others. He told them about his idea of building roads, implying that he wanted the imperial court to help. Old Man Pai and the others were shocked. This goal was too big. Although the imperial edict given by the emperor said so, it was fake. Everyone knew that it was fake. The three saw Zhang Zhong's determined look, so they could only ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "That's right, we're going to build roads. Let's wait for 20 years. When we have enough money, we'll build it again. Otherwise, we'll build a little bit here. When we have enough money, we'll build another section. After a few sections, we'll have to rebuild the previous sections." Zhang Xiaobao gave them a very long time. He didn't want people to keep an eye on the road. When the 3 old men heard that it would take 20 years, there was no need to wait. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to wait that long. They shook their heads regretfully and went back to their own business. The team continued to move forward. The thing that they were worried about finally happened. A heavy snow fell gently. It fell very slowly. There was no wind, and it even gave people a feeling that it was falling vertically. At noon, the sky was as dark as the evening. It was hard to see anything that was slightly further away. It's over. It's finally snowing. How many years has it been since it happened? Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the sky and reached out to catch 2 pieces of snow. It was no longer possible to tell that there were 6 petals. It was like a small pile of cotton quietly melting in his palm. Don't say that it's a once-in-a-blue-moon situation. Who cares how many years it's been? Hurry up and think of a solution. The strong will not find such an excuse to push the responsibility away. Even if it happens once in 10,000 years, it's a success if it can solve the problem. If it can't, it's a failure. Looking at the situation of the snow, it will be warm today and tomorrow. If it continues to snow, it will be warm for 2 more days. But the longer it snows, the worse the road will be. At that time, whether it's warm or cold, it will be difficult to travel. I don't want to analyze the problem. I want the final result. Wang Wan pushed the problem to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao blinked a few times and said, "Why is it my problem? Don't worry. What's a little snow? Our team is strong. Our organization and discipline are strong. We train well and have enough nutrition. Even if it's ice skating and mud, we can still get through. My solution is to unite, help each other, and charge. That's all we can do. I'll go and mobilize the members." Wang Wan agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's plan. She could only brace herself and rely on the overall quality of the team. Who cares about the snow? At this time the road was wide enough. It was just that this was a low-lying area. Usually, a little rain would flow in this place and soak in it. When it was not snowing they could hide. But when the snow fell for a long time, it would block the potholes, making it difficult to judge. Fortunately, the snow was heavy and did not melt completely immediately. For the time being it was not too muddy. Wang Wan's mobilization order was only one sentence: charge. Push with your hands and carry with your shoulders. Charge. Zhang family and Wang family did not hesitate at all. They quickly assigned positions and helped the animals pulling the carts move forward with difficulty. After an hour and a half, the sky was no different from the night. The people in the inner courtyard lit the torches prepared in advance. They took off their coats and put them under the wheels of the carts. Then the team continued to move forward. The people who occasionally passed by on the road were shocked by the scene in front of them. Such a big team, and the road was so difficult to walk on, but there was no chaos at all. Except for the rising and falling sounds of shouting and stepping on the snow, there was no other movement. They moved so fast. Even an army in war could not reach such a level, right? When a gust of wind blew the drooping flag away, the people who saw the pattern on it finally knew what kind of team it was. It was the logistics camp of Idyll. No wonder they were so capable. That was right. Except for the logistics camp of Idyll, they did not believe that other teams could reach such a level. They were indeed worthy of their reputation. All the people who knew which team it were looked at the team in a different light, which made Old Man Pai and the other two feel proud. They had to admit that the people of Zhang family and Wang family were really good. They cleaned the snow, dug the soil, and patted the clothes. There was only one word to describe them: tacit understanding. This is the team spirit that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo mentioned before. It has its own cultural connotation. If you want to defeat such a team, you have to first attack their culture. Old Man Pai looked at the two cooks who were pushing the carts and were in charge of boiling soup to drive away the cold. Old Man Yao and Old Man Chang also nodded in agreement. When they lived together, there was not much difference between the servants of Old Man Yao and Old Man Pai and those of Zhang family and Wang family. Now that there was an emergency, it was immediately obvious. The servants of the two old men were already working very hard, but they could not cooperate well. Needless to say, Li Sun's team was a real military team. Li Sun also asked for a training plan from Wang Wan. Usually they would train together, so their actions were not bad. Old Man Yao looked for a while and said, "After a while we have to let the people at home practice more. The gap is too big." The snow was still falling and the team was still moving forward. The people who had been watching for a while suddenly scattered. No one knew where they ran to, but they disappeared in the blink of an eye. When it was really night time, when the team stopped to rest and eat, many people appeared from both sides of the road. They wanted to be discovered by the seedling protection team. After stopping and asking, they were all local people. They held tools in their hands and gathered here. After greeting each other, they ran to the front of the team to pave the road. The people in the team were stunned. They did not understand why the people were so kind. Zhang Zhong personally went to the leader to ask. He was an old village chief. The whole village had the same surname, Hao. He was here to pave the road. Old Man Hao was simple and honest. He said to Zhang Zhong, "We have heard about what happened to you. We also benefited from exchanging old grain for new grain. There are still 22 animals that you have not collected yet. When the snow stops you can collect them. It will be more convenient to plow next year." When the army went to Pengzhou, your logistics camp did not let a single soldier freeze or starve on the road from Izhou to Pengzhou. You did not let them suffer any delays on the road. You also helped us defeat Tubo. Today when you go home we want to learn from you and pave the road for you. When you set off tomorrow morning, I guarantee that the road ahead of you will be smooth and unimpeded. Hearing the old man's words, Zhang Zhong's eyes reddened. He pursed his lips and nodded. He did not say anything else. He turned back and repeated the old man's words to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then he lowered his head and ate his meal. At this time, on the road ahead, someone holding a torch ran over. He shouted as he ran, "Village Chief Hao, my village has also started work. 20 miles, we have a good place. Continue to work. Tomorrow morning we will definitely be able to pave the road." More people are rushing forward. Some people have already run to tell the villages further ahead. When the time comes, let our logistics camp people also walk on a smooth road. I just want to say, don't worry. Let's go. There is still a shortage of people there. I have to run back. After this person finished shouting, he turned around and ran back. Just like when he came, he ran in a hurry. The road was not good and he staggered after a few steps. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and looked at the busy figures in front of him. He said to the servant girl next to him, "Give me the money box." The servant girl turned around and went to find Jiang Wang clan. After a while she came back and handed the money box to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao opened the money box and took out 1,000 strings of coins from it. He said, "When it snows heavily, the local people will have a hard time. This snow probably won't stop for a while. If people come to pave the road, their houses will be in danger. Also, their animals will be easily frozen to death. In addition, their tools are already old and many of them will be damaged. It will not be easy for them to work tomorrow in the spring plowing." Speaking of this, Zhang Xiaobao gave the money to his father and said, "Father, give this to each village. 500 strings of coins. Give one to 2 villages. Let them go to Idyll to buy tools and more animals. If they can't spend it all, let them stop their work and compensate them with the rest of the money. Let them use the free time to saw wood, cut stones, build a good stable, raise more animals and pave the road." Zhang Zhong also felt that the money should be spent. He took the money and went to find old Hao. At this time, Li Sun next to him asked puzzledly, "Since they can pave the road for us today, why didn't they do it before? How do you know they haven't done it before? The terrain here is low. Once the dirt road is built, it will be damaged. How much time will it take to repair the stone road? If they have the time to do some work and earn money to support their families, they will be able to survive. They only lack an opportunity, or in other words, a startup fund. With this money, as long as they are not too stupid, their lives will gradually improve." Zhang Xiaobao understood the inner workings of this kind of poor village very well. As long as others helped them, they could make changes. However, many times because the contribution was not proportional to the income, or because the return of funds was too long, no one was willing to take out the money. If the villagers hadn't come to help his team pave the road, he wouldn't have taken out the money to help. After all, he had already given some of the animals to this place. The locals also benefited from exchanging old grain for new grain. When Li Sun heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, his eyes lit up. He said, "After we pass by these 2 villages, I will pay for the next 2 villages. As long as they help pave the road, I will give 500 strings of coins per village. How many villages do you think we will meet along the way?" "I didn't see, but there should be a lot on the military map. If we all help pave the road all the way to the capital, I don't think our money will be enough. Villages are not only on the side of the road but also in depth. For example, the Hao family's village is on the south side of the road. Is there a village further south? Is there a village on the north side? Right now, they are doing this from the bottom of their hearts. They don't expect us to give them anything in return. When we give them money and walk all the way, many people may come from further places for the money. No, I have to tell my father to keep it a secret first. After we leave for 10 days, we will take out the money and use it." Zhang Xiaobao explained a few more words to Li Sun. Suddenly he realized something and hurried to find his father. Li Sun thought for a moment and said to Wang Wan, "Is it because those who do good will not be rewarded, and those who do evil will not be punished?" "No, absolutely not. Xiaobao is worried that the money given may not be able to achieve good results. First, we will change the economic conditions of the villages that are willing to help us pave the road. This is a pilot project. If it is successful, we will promote it later. If it fails, we will conduct a specific analysis." Wang Wan began to worry about money when she thought of this development model. If she only used her family's money to do this, she wouldn't even have enough money for the pilot project. When Zhang Zhong gave the money to Hao Tsuanjing said that he didn't want it. They came to work voluntarily, not for the money. Hao Tsuanjing said to Zhang Zhong, "You are a good official. Everyone knows that your family led the army to fight for their lives in Idyll and made a lot of money. But your family didn't keep a single penny. They spent all of it on the people around us. You opened a business with your family's money. You don't want to help yourself to get benefits, but we can't pave the road for the sake of benefits." When Zhang Xiaobao came, the two were still trying to persuade each other. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao said that he wanted to use this place as an experiment to see if it could help more villages to live a better life. When the village was rich in the future, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family could come to buy livestock or food. The village would give the same price to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family first. Only then did Hao Tsuanjing accept the money and promise to give half of it to the neighboring villages after 10 days. He also said that if they raised more livestock and poultry in the future, they would cut them down while planting them. If they sawed down a lot of wood, as long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family came to buy it, they wouldn't sell it to others even if it was cheaper. With the support of money, old Hao immediately had other thoughts. He called people to come over and asked the villagers to look at the time. If there was enough time, they would pave the road wider. He didn't explain the specific reason now, so as to avoid leaking the fact that he had received money. Old Hal thought clearly. Since he had money to help, he would take advantage of this opportunity to pave the road in one go. It would save him the trouble of doing it a second time. The next morning when the team set out, there was still snow on the road. It had fallen at night, so the sky hadn't cleared yet. The women who stayed in the village all rushed over with their children and elders. More than a dozen houses had collapsed, so they were waiting for their own laborers to go back and fix it. The cooks of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family prepared more food for the villagers and then left in a hurry. Once the road was repaired, it was indeed different. The people who swept the snow in front opened the road, so they didn't have to rely on manpower to fill the holes. Their speed also increased, and it only took them 2 hours to reach the road in another village. It was also covered in snow and the road was also flat. After greeting them, they continued to move forward. Another 2 hours passed and a road repair team appeared in front of them again. At this time, the road was still a little unfinished. The news came late and the villagers were still working hard. This is the power of the people's hearts. Just because it's your Zhang family's logistics camp that came over, it made a road that was difficult to walk on smooth. Your Zhang family's flag is very useful. Old Man Pai followed beside Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Yes, we'll leave immediately. My family doesn't want to reach the level of winning the hearts of the people and ruling the world." Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and replied, Don't leave. The logistics camp was set by the imperial court, not your family. It's a good opportunity to let others see how much glory it is to listen to the imperial court, build a place and lead troops to victory. Chapter 657. Just like that, the Zhang and Wang clans groups continued on their way. They didn't have the slightest delay because of the road in Jianan Road. After passing through Jianan Road, they arrived at Shannon West Road. There wasn't much snow here, only a light snowfall that had long melted. Just as the citizens of Jianan Road were worrying about the logistics camp, many citizens of Shannon West Road suddenly came out to help repair the road. There were even people from the army participating in the repair work. They helped to protect the areas that were easy to walk on, and they helped to repair the roads for the areas that were difficult to walk on. The soldiers who came over were the most respectful towards Wang Wan. They had sent 12 battalions to fight in Tubo, and those who came back alive had all contributed greatly. The families of those who died also received a large amount of compensation. They had come back ahead of time and had already publicized Cuckoo's capabilities over and over again. They said that the families of those who died received so much compensation, and a large portion of it came from between the clouds and the water. If not for Cuckoo, all of them would have died in Tubo, not to mention contributing greatly. Thus, the citizens of Shannon West Road didn't respect the logistics camp as much as the citizens of Jianan Road, but they were still grateful. The military merits of those who died were also counted, and the money that their families received was enough to build a 2-story house. Even if they wanted their families to come back alive, how could there be no casualties in war? Such a generous compensation was much more than what they had received in the past. As a result, the traveling speed of the caravan wasn't slow either, covering at least 150 li in a single day. Many merchants who were traveling from Jianan to the capital followed behind the caravan of the Zhang and Wang clans, and the journey was extremely comfortable. The people who were heading to Jianan Road from the capital also felt the difference in the road conditions. Although the road conditions would probably end in a few more days, the journey was smooth and smooth. Everyone calculated the time and realized that they could still spend the new year at Sanshui County when they returned to the capital. It wasn't like other people who took this road, which would take 3 to 4 months, or even half a year. When the mountain road was difficult, there were many people helping to push and pull them, so it didn't take too much time. This news also spread to the capital. Gao Lishir couldn't wait to decorate his home. He was waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to arrive, settle down a little, and immediately adopt him. "Hercules, are you happy? I didn't expect them to come back so quickly." Li Longji was also very happy. He was finally coming back. He didn't have to worry about anything happening over there. At the same time, he could ask Bai Chou and Yao Chong. He thought that the two of them would learn a lot of useful knowledge. Gao Lishir did indeed have a smile on his face as he replied, "Your Majesty, I really didn't expect that there would be so many people helping out on such a difficult road. Many people are saying that your Majesty uses people well. You can only use it well if you have the ability. If you don't, how can you use it? Don't worry, I won't be unhappy just because the people are building roads for them. I'll let all the civil and military officials know that those who serve the people wholeheartedly will be loved and respected by the people. Do you think it's okay if I follow them to Sanshui County? Li Longji had never been to places that were too far away. In the past, when he wasn't the emperor, he would always wander around. Now that he was in the capital, he was a little bored and wanted to go out. Especially when he heard people praising Sanshui County so much, he couldn't see it with his own eyes. Gao Lisher shook his head vigorously. Your Majesty, no, definitely not. I won't go out and will accompany your Majesty. If your Majesty wants to see the scenery of Sanshui County, get someone to draw it. Cuckoo has a new painting method that can make people feel as if they are there when they see the scenery. Many people in Jinjia Academy have also learned it, so let them draw it. Li Longji also knew that he couldn't casually go out to play. When he heard Gao Lisher's suggestion, he nodded. All right, then get someone to draw it. I heard that your son Xiao Bao's counterattack hasn't ended yet. He sent people to Tubo to cause trouble. I wonder how he got the news. Your Majesty, it's true. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are both like this. As long as others provoke them first, they will definitely not just beat them back. They have to fight back. I don't have any news, and I guess Xiao Bao also doesn't have any news. Your Majesty, they seem to have sent something again. As Gao Lisher was speaking, he saw his subordinates outside the hall gesturing. Go quickly. Li Longji didn't know what was going on after only 2 days. Gao Lisher left in a hurry and returned after a while. There were 10 people behind him, each carrying a big bag. He held 2 letters in his hands. One was opened, presumably for him, and the other was still intact. However, unlike before, Gao Lisher revealed a distressed expression when he returned, but there was also a happy expression at the corner of his eyes. It was very contradictory. Li Longji looked at Gao Lisher in puzzlement and asked, Lisher, why are you like this? It's nothing, Your Majesty. This is a letter from Zhang Zhong. From the other letter, I know that this letter states that the Zhang Zhong and Wang family appeared as a test for the common people. He wants Your Majesty to pay more attention in the future. The specific situation is written in the letter. It's very thick. Gao Lisher took a deep breath and handed the letter to one of his subordinates. That young eunuch was responsible for opening the letter. Li Longji didn't look at the letter. Instead, he looked at the 10 young eunuchs who followed him in. They were still carrying things. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva, thinking that Xiao Bao gave his adoptive father something delicious again. Gao Lisher knew that the emperor would ask, so he replied, Inside the bag is not food. It's a toy that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo gave to this official for fun. It's a miniature model of the Tubo Desert. It's like a sand table. When the two were fighting in Tubo, they ran around the desert. After looking around and drawing a map, they made it on the road and sent it to this official as soon as it was done. While Gao Lisher was speaking, he asked someone to take out and open the bag. Sure enough, it was a mess of things. Just as he was about to ask someone to put it away, Li Longji spoke. What model? Take a look, don't you have to put it together just like the building blocks that many children have now? Exactly. Gao Lisher originally thought that Li Longji would lose interest when he heard that it was a sand table. Then he would take it home and secretly look at it himself. He didn't expect that the emperor would insist on seeing it. He arranged for people to start assembling the sand table according to the instructions in the manual that was sent. Only after the assembly did they know how big the sand table was. It was actually an irregular object that was about 4 zhang wide and 6 zhang long. Then he asked people to bring sand and water to continue filling it. A large group of people, including Li Longji, worked for more than 2 hours. After they were done with the sand table, they had a special feeling just by looking at it. The desolation of the desert, the clarity of the pool, and the plants and animals in the desert were all reflected in their eyes. It made people feel as if they had come to another place. Your Majesty, this is the desert that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo led people into. Once, there were 40,000 Tubo soldiers outside the desert, but they didn't dare to take a step in. At that time, our dynasty only had less than 10,000 cavalrymen. Gao Lisher said to Li Longji with a hint of pride. He was not proud of Li Longji. He was proud of Cuckoo and the great Tang. A large group of maids and eunuchs who were in charge of assembling the sand table saw that no one was driving them away, so they didn't say anything. They quietly looked at the sand table and felt the vastness of the desert. They also thought of how Cuckoo looked when she was covered in blood. Li Longji looked from one side to the other without blinking. He reached out his hand and wanted to touch it, but he didn't want to. After a while he said, Good. Quickly fill up my hall. There is also a small person, a pony, and an eagle. Is it called Shuayun? Yes, Shuayun has made a lot of contributions. Looking at this model, I seem to see the situation when Cuckoo led the army to war. It's really not easy. Gao Lisher sighed softly and replied. It's not easy. It's really not easy. This thing is well made. How about this? I will put the model in a special place in Xingqing Palace so that you can always look at it. What do you think? Li Longji adjusted the position of the small shell by the lake and stopped with satisfaction. He gave Gao Lisher a place to look. Gao Lisher quickly said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Although he said thank you, he felt pain in his heart. When he brought it here, he knew that he couldn't let him take it home. He was right. He couldn't say that it was made by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, so it couldn't be put in Xingqing Palace. Li Longji was happy. He could often look at it in the future. If any minister came, he could take it to see it. There were also concubines. The maids and eunuchs were also happy. As long as it was in Xingqing Palace, they would have a chance to see it. If it was outside, they could see it at any time. Even if it was afraid of wind and rain, it could be put in the room and they could clean it. Li Longji admired the model and suddenly thought of what he just said. He waved his hand and let the others leave. He said to Gao Lisher, "Since the desert can be made into a model, can you also make a model of Sanshui County and other places? I can't go there personally, but it's good to see the model." That's right. Now that there is a map, it won't cost much to make a model according to the map. However, there is no place to put it. Gao Lisher thought for a while and felt that it wouldn't be a waste of money. If you don't have a place, then find a place. Give up that useless garden and use it to store the models. When the time comes, all of the great Tang will be in our palace. Even in war it can be used. It's much more useful than a sand table. I'll leave this matter to Lisher. Li Longji imagined that he could see things from all over the country as long as he was in the palace. He was very happy and let Gao Lisher arrange it. As for the money, of course he wouldn't pay. At most, when Gao Lisher recognized his son, he would personally go and congratulate him. What Gao Lisher was worried about was not who would fork out the money. He was worried that Xiao Bao would earn money from such a thing again. There was a model in the game, but it was not detailed enough. Furthermore, it was not done well. If Xiao Bao really did it this time, how much money would he earn? Gao Lisher didn't doubt his son's ability. During the economic war, he caused Tubo to be in such a state. If he were to pay to make a model, it would be strange if he didn't make money. Thinking of this, Gao Lisher said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, if we let Xiao Bao pay for it, what should we do when he earns money from it?" "It can't be, right?" Li Longji asked without confidence. He just remembered the Zhang family's ability to make money. Almost everything that other people see as a loss of money can be done by the Zhang family. When he gave the order to build roads, he thought that the Zhang family would lose a lot of money. Who would have thought that not only did the Zhang family not lose money, they even made a lot of money? If this matter made money again, what should he do? There must be some officials in the court who are not willing. They will think that he is biased towards the Zhang family and give all the benefits to the Zhang family. Gao Lisher gave an idea. "Your Majesty, why don't we ask all the officials first and see which one of them is willing to do the work of making the model? They are not allowed to disturb the people and are not allowed to ask the local government for money. They can only fork out the money themselves. If no one agrees, we can then give the money to the Zhang family. At that time, when they make money, no one can say anything." "Okay, we will do as Lisher said." Li Longji agreed. During the morning assembly the next day, Li Longji wanted all the ministers to take a look at the model of the desert. After that, he raised the question of who would be willing to make a model of the entire country and not be able to ask for money from others. After all the officials looked at it, they estimated that this model would cost close to 1,000 strings of coins. This model didn't cost much. It was mainly used to explore the specific situation. This was different from playing with models. There were a lot of mountains and rivers and playing with models. It wasn't that detailed. In the end, no one was willing to do this work. Li Longji had no choice but to write a decree and let the Zhang family complete it. At that time, the Zhang family would be credited as having done a meritorious deed. At first, all the officials thought that the Zhang family would have to pay a lot of money this time. After they finished discussing other matters and retreated from the court, they felt that something was wrong. How could the Zhang family possibly pay? Unless the Zhang family was willing to take out money and give it to the court directly for the court to fix the irrigation works and roads, they definitely wouldn't pay. They understood now. The emperor must have already planned to let the Zhang family earn money from this project. In order to shut their mouths, the emperor must have asked them first. If they had known earlier, they would have taken over the project and cooperated with the Zhang family. The Zhang family must have a way to make money from the model. Unfortunately, they didn't think of this. Zhang Xiaobao was still on the road when he received a letter sent by a fast horse. Gao Lishir mentioned that the gift was placed in Xingqing Palace. He would be able to see it in the future. He expressed his gratification. In fact, the meaning behind his words was, "Son, the good things you and your wife gave me were snatched away by the emperor. I can't do anything about it." Then he mentioned that he wanted Xiaobao to make a model for the entire country. Isn't this just asking us to spend money? Godfather has already acknowledged this. Why don't we help? When Wang Wan saw the content, she muttered unhappily. There was a map and it was a military map. When the time came they could just add in some snack models of special places. However, that would cost a lot of money. It would probably cost less than 100,000 strings of coins. Look at the essence of things. Don't look at the surface. How is it asking my family to spend money? It is clearly asking me to make money. Look at this. It has already been said that no one in the imperial court will take over. This is to seal the mouths of others. We are rich. We were worried about not having enough money. Now we don't have to worry anymore. At least we can earn at least 300,000 strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao held the letter and said happily to Wang Wan. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao say that they could make money, she was no longer angry. Since Zhang Xiaobao said that they could make money, they definitely could make money. She came over to read the letter carefully and asked, "How do we make money?" "We will know when it is done. As long as we make a set of this model, we can make another set according to the same model. Where should we put it? We can't throw it away. Li Longji is really generous. He actually gave us such a big deal. No, 300,000 strings of coins is too little. Moreover, it won't be of much benefit to what we are doing. It's just that money is not enough. I have to add in something else. We have to change the pure earning of money to other things that have a positive effect on society." Zhang Xiaobao looked at the road in front of him. They had already passed the Shannon West Road and entered the territory of the capital. There were still 11 days before the new year. If they rushed, they could make it back to Sanshui County before the new year. If they really couldn't make it back in time, they would just spend the new year in the capital. After getting on the carriage, he began to perfect his plan. In order to make money, he had to promote the development of the entire society, at least in a certain aspect. Once they passed the place, no one would help to repair the road and no one would help to move things. Fortunately, the road here was not that difficult to walk on. The team rushed with all their might. Most of them only rested for 3 hours a day and moved the rest of the time. There were still 4 days before the new year, and the team was still 2 days away from the capital. Zhang Zhong finally gave up on the idea of returning to Sanshui County. It was too late. Zhang Xiaobao also gave up, but his plan was completed. First, he wrote a letter to the capital and then asked the team to slow down and rest. He also sent someone to the capital in advance to inform his family's business. Many people were going to spend the new year in the capital, and he had to arrange a good place. Other than arranging a place, he also had to prepare all kinds of gifts. When the time came, there would definitely be many people giving gifts. He had to return. At this moment, the imperial court was no longer in session. Other than those on duty, all the officials had returned home to prepare for the new year. Li Longji settled some matters and also had some free time. Every day he would take time to look at the model of the desert, fantasizing that one day he would be able to see the entire Great Tang in the palace. Occasionally he would go to the pear garden to take a look, and ask if the savant's restaurant had any new dishes for the imperial kitchen to learn. Gao Lishir, on the other hand, was very busy. It was almost the new year and he was in charge of many things. He ordered his subordinates around and he was also very busy. When he finally finished some things and was about to rest and ask the emperor if there was anything else he needed, Xiao Bao's letter arrived. Gao Lishir had no choice but to take the letter to Li Longji. When they met, Li Longji was playing the guqin. The guqin, in other words, was a guitar. The Zhang family gave it to him, who asked him to like everything. He also saw Gao Lishir and asked, "Lishir, are you too busy?" "It's okay, but things are a little complicated. This is the only time a year, so naturally I have to spend it well." Gao Lishir wiped the sweat on his forehead and replied, "I heard that Xiao Bao was the one who arranged everything along the way. Not only was he in charge of the things on the other side, but he also had to consider the news from Idyll from time to time, and arrange the reception in the capital as well as the rescue of the snow disaster. This time, his family took out 100,000 strings of cash and arranged it in the name of the imperial court. How did he do it? Isn't he busy?" Li Longji knew that this was a master training Xiao Bao, but so many things were taken care of by Xiao Bao, and there seemed to be no loopholes in his management. This was not easy. Could it be that there were more things in the palace than that? Hearing the emperor mention Xiao Bao, Gao Lishur presented the letter and said, "Your Majesty, he is not only busy with those things. He also wrote a plan for the things I asked him to do a few days ago and sent it to me. I can't compare to him. How can Xiao Bao's logistical organization be surpassed by ordinary people? He is a person who specializes in economic warfare." The plan came out so soon? Isn't Xiao Bao's ability because you, as his godfather, are proud of him? Tell me what is written in the letter. Li Longji was now more and more satisfied with the two children. They were very filial and reassured. Before any ceremony, they had already sent something to Gao Lishur. Fortunately, he let them take a look. Otherwise, they would have been taken home by Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur indeed felt proud of himself. He decided to wait for Xiao Bao to come back and ask Xiao Bao if there was any good way to make things easier when doing things. He believed that Xiao Bao would not be too tired. He looked at Li Longji and replied, "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao said in the letter that the model can be made bigger and can be made all over the country. However, he has a request. First, he wants to make a set after it is done and put it in another place. He will send people to protect it. Second, he needs to find powerful hunters and fishermen all over the Tang Empire. The first request is feasible. If he makes the model secretly, no one will know about it. It will be fine as long as he protects it well and doesn't let anyone steal it." What does the second request mean? Li Longji did not understand. Replying to Your Majesty, Xiao Bao said that the model alone is not enough. He needs to catch all kinds of animals from all over the country and rear them. There is no one who specializes in rearing animals. Most hunters are the most familiar with animals. When the time comes, we will build a huge zoo in the capital. Some of the animals can be used to make medicine, and some of the animals can be used to help people. He wanted people to learn how to raise animals. When the time came, they would try their best to have more cubs. Otherwise, if there was a need for medicinal herbs one day and there were not enough animals, it would also have an impact on medicine. Some animals might even become extinct in the end, never to be found again. They had to leave some wealth for their descendants. Another point is that after the zoo is set up, people will be able to research why animals have such thick fur and why some animals are afraid of water. We will be able to figure out what is useful to humans. If 1 year is not enough, we will do it for 10 years. If 10 years is not enough, we will do it for 100 years. With generations of research, we will be stronger than other countries. Gao Lishur had already memorized everything written in the letter and explained it to Li Longji one by one. Hearing Gao Lishur's words, Li Longji was also moved. "You are indeed a great talent. Good, I agree to find animals and good hunters and fishermen from all over the country. I will also arrange for a place to build a zoo and send people to learn. Even if we don't do it for ourselves, we have to think for the future generations. Your Majesty, there is no need to use extra money to feed the animals. There is also the need to prepare things like ice and heating. The money that the zoo earns is enough. Anyone who wants to go in to see the animals will have to spend money. The animals that live in different environments will be placed together according to their area. It will cost 1 copper coin to see the animals that live in different environments. Some animals eat meat and fruits. The zoo can prepare them. When the time comes, people who want to watch the animals will have to pay for them. I believe that many rich people will be willing to do this. If we find talented people, it will be like the place where the animals are raised in the imperial family. We will train the animals and perform for people. Watching the performances will also cost money. Of course, not all places will have to be opened. Some people are unwilling to spend the money, so they will specially open a part of the zoo for people to watch for free. In addition, after visiting so many places in the zoo, they will also need to rest and eat. This part of the zoo can also be used to earn money to feed the animals. As for the remaining money, Your Majesty can use it to repair other things. Gao Lishur did not know what Xiao Bao was thinking. He even thought about this. The imperial family originally had many animals, but they were few in number and did not have enough species. The main reason was that the cost of raising them was too high. If there were too many animals, they could not afford to raise them. Furthermore, they would not casually open them to others. Li Longji really did not think about collecting money. After thinking about it, he felt that it was feasible. When the animals had money, the remaining money could be used for other things. He said, "This is good. What other ideas can make money and bring other benefits to people?" Gao Lishur raised his head and looked at the letter in the emperor's hand. He continued, "Your Majesty, there is also the money earned from the models. The money given to Your Majesty cannot be used to do business, but the money left by Xiao Bao himself can be used to let people watch. Each time he will charge a fee and sell the local specialties and souvenirs of various places. Xiaobao means that if he and Cuckoo want to go to a poor county to do something, they don't have to be the county magistrate. However, the local county magistrate is absolutely not allowed to make trouble for them. Otherwise, don't blame him for being merciless. If he and Cuckoo are allowed to make models in the poor county, they can turn the poor county into a rich county. He has such plans? He even threatened me. Either I give them a county magistrate, or I arrange for an obedient person to go over. Then I'll randomly arrange for a county magistrate to go over and see if he can cause trouble for them and wait for them to deal with him. Their family has no lack of people to deal with, so it can help me test the officials. Let's see which county magistrate did poorly this year and send them over. In the future, whoever doesn't work hard will be sent to them. When Li Longji heard Gao Lisher say that Xiaobao and Cuckoo wanted to be officials, he had a plan in mind. When Zhang Zhong arrived in Luoyang, he would find a poor county near Luoyang for the two of them to cause trouble. He believed that if they did not understand what was going on, the experts in their families would take action and casually help to deal with the officials who did not do their jobs properly. Thinking of turning a poor county into a rich county, Li Longji asked again, did they mention how they can improve the lives of the locals through a model? No, they only said that no matter what they do over there, as long as the people do not flee, starve, or freeze to death, no one can find trouble for them. They will probably be suppressed or they will go home. When Gao Lisher said this, the corners of Wei Wei's mouth curled up. Aha, they are indeed children. They can even say such things. If they can't do it, they will go home. Ah, I agree. Let's see what will happen in the end. Li Longji laughed out loud. These two children were really fun to play with. However, it was such interesting children. One of them led troops into battle, causing the Tibetans to call him a demon. The other was a remote commander, causing the Tibetans to be unable to retaliate when they launched an economic war. He really did not know how to describe it. Zhang Xiaobao did not know that Li Longji would agree so readily. As he waited for news, he got the team to advance slowly. As long as they reached the capital before 30, there was no rush. At the same time, he was busy with his own plans. A poor county, in his heart, referred to a place that had no natural economy, no minerals, and inconvenient transportation. It was really poor. Under normal circumstances, no one would be willing to stay in such a place, let alone invest. Unless it was a polluting industry, they would hide in such a place to harm the people. In order to eat better and wear better, the people had no choice but to give up their health. Only such a place would have challenges. Otherwise, if a county was randomly arranged for him and Cuckoo, what was there to manage? It was enough as long as they invested money, and the money they invested could be earned back very quickly. Wang Wan also knew that the location arranged for the two of them would not be too far away from the capital or Luoyang. She was looking for a poor county on the map to see where was suitable. Xiaobao wanted to train his father, so he could only leave. Of course, he also had to bring Xiaobei and the rest with him. He had to stay by their side. At that time, he would bring his parents over to take a look every once in a while. After all, there was not much to do when he became an official in Luoyang. After searching for a while, he did not find the kind of place that Zhang Xiaobao had requested. He nudged Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "Why do you insist on being an official? You still have to find a truly poor county. There is no one nearby. You can't be far away from home. Don't tell me you want to be a demonstration and tell other officials how to govern a place." "I'm not going to be a demonstration. I want to slowly stand in front with you and weaken the existence of experts. At the same time, I want to build a foundation for the future. We are young, so we can only get Shaoli to arrange a lower position for us. We can't be too high. We need to interact with the grassroots more. In the future, when Shaoli gives us a higher position, we will have an excuse. At the same time, I want Xiaobei and the rest to watch from the side. In case someone wants to be an official in the future, we can't be ignorant and suffer losses first, right? Also, a small place has its benefits. My father is not busy. How much energy can we spend on governing a small county? I'll find some time to make other arrangements." Zhang Xiaobao was analyzing human nature and consumer psychology. Since there were no resources, he had to think of ways to create resources. In this world, there was no place that could not develop. It only depended on how much one was willing to invest, even if it was a desert. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family members were worried. They did not want to let their children leave their side. Even though they knew Xiaobao and Cuckoo's abilities, they still wanted to watch over and protect them. However, they also knew that it was not good to not let the two children go out. It was not good for the children to always be cooped up at home. They could only think of ways to arrange for the two children to go out and visit them every 2 or 3 days. Old Man Pai and the other two were also in a dilemma. They also knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were going to a county to do something. They were hesitating whether to follow Xiao Bao and Cuckoo or follow Zhang Zhong. You two tell me. Do you want to go to a county or to Luoyang? Zhang Zhong's position can be considered fixed. We can't go to Beijing, so we have to go to Luoyang to train. If we follow Zhang Zhong, we can always know what new things come out of his house and how the experts can help Zhang Zhong. In this way we won't be able to see the little ones again. It's strange. Besides, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are not bad now. I reckon that when the two of them become local officials, many interesting things will happen. Old Man Chang sat in the carriage. When he was in a dilemma, he asked Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. Old Man Pai scratched his head worriedly. Actually, I want to follow Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to see how far the two of them can go. However, I'm afraid that because of my identity, people from other places will go there because of my identity. That way the two of them won't be able to show off their abilities. If I leave them, I reckon that it will be difficult to eat their cooking in the future. I also considered this, but after thinking about it, I decided to follow Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I'll follow them secretly when they arrive. That way no one will know. Old Man Yao also voiced his thoughts. When this idea came out, Old Man Pai and Old Man Chang suddenly felt that it was a good idea and nodded in agreement. On the morning of the 29th day of the 12th lunar month, the group finally arrived outside the capital. They could already see the city walls and the city gates. All the flags that represented their identities were raised, and everyone began to change their clothes. Li Sun put on his duke's clothes and raised the flag, showing off his prestige. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao also wore purple clothes, showing off their splendor. The adults of the Zhang family and Wang family, except for Zhang Zhong, were all scattered officials or titled ladies. However, even so, they still had their own clothes and backing. Even Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also changed into purple clothes and hung a goldfish bag. Seeing this, Xiao Bei and the little ones were envious. Xiao Bei also wants to wear it. Xiao Bei also has one. Xiao Bei pulled on her brother's robe and pouted as she requested. Okay, then wear it. I believe that no one will impeach our family, Xiao Bei. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that his sister was unhappy, he immediately agreed. His family had indeed made clothes for the little ones like his and Cuckoo's for them to wear and play. Old Man Pai, Old Man Yao, and Li Sun didn't care at all. It was fine as long as they were happy. Who would care about them? They even told them the rules and told them what grade of clothes to wear. However, they didn't have the corresponding backing. The only thing they could rely on was the big house. Of course, this house was more impressive than other people's backing. When they came back, they were exhausted. When they went up the mountain, dozens of people had to work together. When they were approaching just now, the people on the road only felt that it was a little bigger. However, when they took out all of their backing, it didn't feel that it was that big anymore. Those who knew the rules of the officials all stopped and looked at the group. Who exactly were these people that entered the capital? There were too many officials and each of them had a high grade? Especially the servants, whose clothes were also very impressive. The men and women were dressed in the same color, and they were lined up in groups with fluttering banners. As they got closer and closer to the city gate, they adjusted their pace and could feel the vibrations of the ground. Just when everyone was puzzled, the gate of the capital finally opened. A group of people suddenly came out from inside. When they looked carefully, they were also dressed in both men and women's clothes, and they carried a banner with a picture of a rice sprout. Now everyone knew who they were. They were from the Zhang family and Wang family of Sanshui. No wonder they were so impressive. This was the victorious return of the logistics camp in Idyll. In the past, they only knew that the Savant's restaurant and other businesses in the capital belonged to the Zhang family and Wang family. Very few people had actually seen the Zhang family and Wang family. They only knew that the two families were extraordinary. As for how extraordinary they were, they didn't know. Now they had learned something new. Just the banners they carried showed that the Zhang family and Wang family had 10 high-ranking officials. Was every single one of them an official? 4 of them had the title of nobility. Could it be that the women of the two families were all nobility? All of them were of such high ranks. The group couldn't stop just because of the attention of others. They continued to move forward and met up with their families who had come out of the city to welcome them. Behind the group of Zhang family and Wang family members were merchants who had also received the news and came to welcome them. These merchants were partners with the Zhang family and Wang family as well as Li Sun. Since they were back, how could they not welcome them? No matter how important the matter was, they had to put it aside first. Otherwise, how could they continue to cooperate in the future? In addition to this group of people, there were also people behind them. They were the people from Jinjia Academy and Zhang family and Wang family who had passed the imperial examination. Some were not official yet, while some were already wearing official robes, including those who had passed the imperial examination sponsored by the Zhang family and Wang family. There were also those who hadn't passed the imperial examination. They were arranged according to their ranks. They didn't dare to take a carriage and walked here. With such a welcoming group, there was no need for others to enter or leave. If they wanted to enter, they had to go through another door. This door was not open. Zhang Zhong walked forward and said to the person in charge of welcoming them, "I'm back." "Welcome, master." After the people from Zhang family and Wang family who were doing business in the front greeted him in unison, the merchants behind also shouted in unison, "Brother Zhang, please." After that, it was the officials and students. They bowed together and saluted, "Greetings, students." The people who were watching the show had a great time. In the future, they could brag about it to those who had never seen such a scene. These were the people from Zhang family and Wang family. The one who received the salutes in succession was the head of the Zhang family, Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong returned the salute and prepared to enter the city. The people guarding the city didn't dare to come over and ask Zhang Zhong and the others for something that represented their identity. They obediently hid at the side. Just as everyone was preparing to enter the city, another group of people came out of the city. One person sat on a horse and hurried over with the others. When they saw this person and recognized him, they were so shocked that their jaws dropped. It was actually Gao Lisher who personally came out to welcome them. It was General Gao. How much face did he have to have General Gao personally come out to welcome him? Everyone greeted Gao Lisher one after another. Even Zhang Zhong stepped forward and cupped his hands in greeting. Before he could finish his greeting, Gao Lisher hurriedly stopped him. "Governor Zhang, there's no need to be so polite. Where are Xiaobao and Cuckoo? Quickly follow me into the palace." Gao Lisher had been waiting and waiting. Finally, the people he had been waiting for had returned. Without waiting for him to ask for leave from Li Longji had sent him out to bring Xiaobao and Cuckoo into the palace. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked forward from behind. Behind them were Xiaobei and the others. As soon as they met, Zhang Xiaobao didn't know how to address him. He sized up Gao Lisher and felt that he was indeed as described. In fact, he was even better than described. He was good-looking and had a face full of righteousness. When he stood there, he didn't look like a eunuch at all. He was clearly a handsome man. "Xiaobao? Cuckoo, call me Uncle Gao first. Come back with me. Yo, this is Xiaobei, right? So good-looking. Do you want to be an official like brother and sister?" Gao Lisher told Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan how to address him. When he looked behind the two, he saw Xiaobei's eyes widen. He looked over with a curious expression. He immediately said to Xiaobei, "Hello, Uncle Gao." Xiaobei will treat Uncle Gao to some candy. Xiaobei wasn't afraid of people. He stepped forward and took out a piece of candy from his bag and handed it over. Gao Lisher hurriedly opened his mouth and held the candy. He then kissed Xiaobei. Only then did he stand up straight and signal for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to follow. As for what Xiaobei and the others were wearing, he didn't see them. Chapter 658. Gao Lisher did not ride the horse anymore. He pulled Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, one in each hand, and walked back. Zhang Zhong and the others also followed them into the city. When the time came, they would go to different places. The people in the capital had already arranged a place for them. This year, the Savant's restaurant in the west and the complacent residence in the east would not allow guests in. Did you see that? During the first year I saw him. At that time he came here on a boat. His pomp and circumstance was not small at all. Who would have thought that after a few years, his power and influence would be even more magnificent? The Zhuangyuan of the Zhuangyuan Tower came out. One must be proud of being in the middle. That year the new Zhuangyuan was him. Someone in the crowd recognized Zhang Zhong and hid in a corner to show off. I know. The two best restaurants in the capital. What are their cooking skills called again? Yes, it's called leading the trend. Big waves hit the willow embankment. Only standing at the head of the tide. Another person responded enviously. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were led and walked in front. There were countless envious gazes on both sides, but the two did not care. They had seen many big scenes and did not care that they were the center of attention again. As they walked forward, two people rushed in front of them. They were wearing official robes. One of them had a lot of mud and snow on his clothes and looked very embarrassed. The other was supporting him. Zhang Xiaobao saw the two people and was stunned for a moment. He then smiled and greeted them. "Uncle Cheng, Uncle Zhang, are you two checking the removal of the snow?" "Xiaobao? Cuckoo? You're bigger and taller. What do you mean by checking the snow? I accidentally fell and did not come in time to welcome Brother Yongqing. Please forgive me. The people who came together were the county magistrate of Sanshui County, Qing Lingxiang, and the deputy county magistrate, Zhang Mingxing. The chief secretary Zhao Xiang had arrived a long time ago. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he happily greeted them. Zhang Xiaobao also felt very cordial, so he replied with a big smile. Uncle Qing, you're not late. There's still the fragrance of the earth on you. My father is behind us. Cuckoo and I will follow Uncle Gao into the palace first. When we come back, we'll toast to Uncle Zhang and Uncle Cheng. General Gao. Only then did the two of them notice Gao Lisher. Earlier they had only been paying attention to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Gao Lisher waved his hand to stop the two from saluting and praised, "Not bad, the people from Sanshui County are not bad. Go, this year you two should change your positions." After speaking, Gao Lisher pulled Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and continued to walk forward, leaving behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with happy expressions. They were promoted just like that? The people from the Zhang family and Wang family were indeed benefactors. It wasn't the first time Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came to the capital, but they had never entered the palace. They didn't know what the palace looked like at this time, so they followed with anticipation. As they walked, Gao Lisher pulled the two of them to a side shop. After passing through the shop, they got into the carriage behind and continued to walk. Wang Wan sat in the carriage and touched the curtain blocking the window to ask in a low voice, "Uncle Gao, are we going to enter the palace quietly without making a fuss?" Gao Lisher chuckled. "From what Cuckoo said, it seems like we're spies. We don't want to enter the palace because we're afraid that too many people will greet us on the way. It's troublesome. Let's go to the hibiscus garden. Her Majesty is waiting there." "Oh, we're not going to the palace." Wang Wan was a little disappointed and Zhang Xiaobao was also discouraged. Seeing the reaction of the two children, Gao Lisher didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Other people would be very happy to see the emperor, but at the same time they would be nervous. The two children were only excited to see the palace and ignored the people who really needed their attention. Gao Lisher stretched out his hand and patted their heads. He comforted them. "It's easy to go to the palace. If you want to go in the future, I'll take you there. The emperor is not someone who can meet just anyone. Let's go see the emperor first. Don't be afraid, the emperor doesn't kill people easily." "Well then let's go see him first. I'm not afraid of killing people as long as I don't kill them personally. I'm tired of killing." Wang Wan thought that it was fine to see Xiao Li. After all, he was an important person. "Yes, don't be afraid. Cuckoo is a great general who can defeat many people with fewer people. Xiao Bao, are you really going to be a local official? His Majesty said that he will arrange a deputy county magistrate position and a chief secretary position for you. The county magistrate position is to find a proud and incompetent person. You must be careful." Gao Lisher suddenly realized that the little girl sitting in front of him was not an ordinary person. He was confused by her cute appearance. She was also a killing god. It was said that the more ruthless she killed, the sweeter her smile would be. "And I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid." Zhang Xiaobao sat at the side and thought about why Li Longji wanted them. It couldn't be just to meet them. After listening to Gao Lisher's questions, he helplessly sighed. "Uncle Gao, how can the emperor do this? Why must he throw a useless person to our side? This is killing with a borrowed knife. Have you chosen a county? What borrowed knife? This is a chance for you to train. Don't think that he is a county magistrate. If he needs to be dealt with, you don't need to be soft. It's best if you can change him so that he can do more practical things for the people in the future. If you have chosen a county that is not too poor, it is less than 300 li away from Luoyang. It is a middle county and is not an important place. It is also not a part of the capital. It is very fun. If you want to use it, write a letter." Gao Lisher said with concern. He really wanted to get rid of the title of uncle right now, but he had not done the proper etiquette, so he could only call him that for now. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He reckoned that this godfather and Xiao Li were afraid that he and Cuckoo would have a bad future if things went too smoothly. Wasn't it just dealing with a person? It was simple. Otherwise life would be too monotonous. Seeing that Xiao Bao did not object, Gao Lisher smiled happily. He suddenly thought of something and asked, "Xiao Bao, do you think there is a trick to managing a logistics organization? Uncle has been very busy these past few days." "Oh, there is. This is actually a kind of knowledge in terms of overall management. It can also be said to be the study of organization. It can be said to be simple, but it can also be difficult. I will organize it and show it to Uncle Gao. In fact, the people in my family have already learned it. There are many fixed patterns that can be used for reference, but they can't be followed by the book. They can be used flexibly. Zhang Xiaobao did not keep this knowledge a secret. He was not afraid that he would lose his stage when others learned it. In the past, there were many people who learned this kind of knowledge, but how many of them could compete with him? But you can't teach it to foreigners. Keep all the good things. Zhang Xiaobao added another sentence. Sure enough, Xiaobao, don't worry. Keep all the good knowledge. We will do as your family said and set up a school in a coastal area to earn money from other countries and educate them. After they learn the way of the ruler and minister, we will talk about other things. We have earned a lot of money. Every time the emperor talks about it, he is very happy. Gao Lishir got a definite answer from Xiaobao and finally felt relieved. It would be easier to do things in the future. At the same time, he had a higher opinion of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. They were loyal to the emperor and patriotic. They did not lack good skills and were not stingy. However, they also repeatedly asked not to let other countries learn it. In terms of effort and gain, the imperial court lost out to the two families. The carriage was not slow. After wandering for about 2 hours, they arrived at Hibiscus Garden. No one stopped them on the road and they directly entered. Gao Lishir got off the carriage first. He did not need other people's help. He wanted to personally carry Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan out of the carriage. He grabbed their hands and walked in a certain direction. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at their clothes to see if it was appropriate. They still had to show the proper etiquette. After all, Shaoli was the emperor. Even if Cuckoo had seen the chairman and the premier many times when she was young, she could not be rude. As they turned, the two of them sniffed at the same time and smelled the smell of oil and smoke. After another 2 turns, they appeared in front of a house. Zhang Xiaobao finally could not help but ask, Uncle Gao, where are we going? A good place. The kitchen behind the Imperial Banquet Palace in Hibiscus Garden, Gao Lishir replied. Why are we going to the kitchen? We are not hungry yet. Zhang Xiaobao felt that something was wrong. Isn't it because of the roasted camel hump you sent last time? Bai Shu and Yao Chong often write to praise the two of you for cooking well. They are very considerate. First, make a few dishes, then go to Zhujiang to eat and drink. Gao Lishir's face reddened. Wei Wei found the 2 little guys and asked them to cook. It was too much of a bully. But who asked the emperor to think about it? Zhang Xiaobao's lips moved toward Wang Wan. I admit defeat. Does it mean that I don't have to go to other places after cooking and can be an imperial chef in the palace? Opportunity, opportunity. Give the restaurant a chance to advertise. Remember to ask for a title. Something like the world's best restaurant or the world's best dish is fine. Wang Wan replied. Zhang Xiaobao accepted his fate. Considering that he still had to drink, he planned to make 2 light dishes and 2 salty dishes. They could not be oily. If it was not enough, he would barbecue by Zhujiang. Don't count on his carving skills. He did not have time to practice it. Wang Wan asked Gao Lishir, Uncle Gao, to eat and drink in Zhujiang, do you want to drink in Zhujiang? Did it freeze? It did, but it was broken. Enclose a large area to prevent it from freezing again. It is like between the clouds and the water. The kitchen has prepared a lot of ingredients you can cook. While Gao Lishir was talking, he took the 2 children into the kitchen. At this time, there were many cooks waiting inside, preparing to cook for the emperor. They didn't expect that General Gao would bring the 2 children in, so they all saluted. With a straight face, Wei Wei nodded. Gao Lishir lowered his head and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile, choose. If you don't have anything, ask someone to get it. Zhang Xiaobao looked around. It was really good. There were a lot of tools and it was clean. There were no rats drilling around, no cockroaches crawling around, and no spider webs and gray pipes in the corners. How could it be so clean? He went forward to look at the seasonings. It was really complete. There was even the chicken essence that his family had just made in Idyll, not to mention the monosodium glutamate made from boiled seaweed and spoonworms. It was basically the same as his family's kitchen. It was just missing one thing, the microtoxin of the blowfish, which was usually used when eating hot pot. Get a cold melon. Zhang Xiaobao ran to the place where the ingredients were placed and was shocked again. How many people would eat this? The variety was enough, but he did not find a cold melon. He ordered someone to bring it. The cooks looked at Zhang Xiaobao as if they were looking at a fool, but no one moved. Gao Lishir saw that his son asked for a cold melon, but no one took it. Could it be that his words were not useful? Am I not the head of the Department of Internal Servants? He stared at him. Cold melon? General Gao, look at the season now, where is the cold melon? A eunuch at the side, who should be the head chef, help the cooks to solve the problem. His voice was soft, afraid that Gao Lisher would wave his hand and ask someone to drag him out and beat him to death. Why not? No wonder His Majesty has been uncomfortable eating recently. It turns out that the ingredients are not prepared. Ask someone to get a big one from Savant's restaurant. The day before yesterday, Savant's restaurant sent 2 over. You don't have them? Gao Lisher did not continue to pursue the matter. Otherwise, 10 whips would have landed on the eunuch. Today his son and daughter-in-law were here, so he should be more amiable. As for the emperor not eating well, he knew what was going on. When he heard that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were coming back, he was thinking about the food he ate last time. No dish was good, but there was cold melon. Savant's restaurant did send it over. Also, bring some desert sistanch over. There are marinated ones and dog meat. Forget it, this can't be on the table. Prepare the deer marrow and carrots. Zhang Xiaobao added. The eunuch in charge of the kitchen looked at Zhang Xiaobao and then at Gao Lisher. Why aren't you going? What Xiaobao said today is what I said. Gao Lisher suddenly realized that this subordinate of his was so insensible today. The eunuch ran out to arrange for people to get the things quickly. After he was done, he realized who Xiaobao was. Xiaobao? There was a little girl next to him. 2 little girls, one was called Xiaobao and the other was called Cuckoo? Oh my god, no wonder Gao Darren brought me here to see the emperor. I heard that the burning camel hump was made by the 2 of them for Gao Darren and the emperor to taste. It turned out that I was fine after meeting the killing god just now. I heard that people who saw her smile would bleed to death from all 7 orifices. She didn't smile at me just now. When they came back, the eunuch in charge of the kitchen trembled. He wanted to look at Wang Wan but didn't dare to. His expression changed. Others thought that he was just scolded. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about the others. He asked someone to bring tofu and shallots. He added a few spices, stir-fried the black bean sauce and poured it over. A dish of shallots mixed with tofu was ready. Then he prepared to make a dish of fried shrimps with chives. The other 2 things were removed from the watermelon pulp and the skin. After kneading it, he made a cold melon rind. Together with the desert sistanch dish, there were 4 dishes in total. It was very simple. Wang Wan also asked someone to spread out a few pancakes. She asked Xiaobao to remix the sauce and peel a few shallots. Later she would roll them up and eat them. The cooks in the kitchen watched the tall man take the 2 little girls and leave with the 4 dishes to send to the emperor. They looked at each other and thought that this was obviously a lie to the emperor. They gave the emperor melon rind and the shallots mixed with tofu that poor people usually eat. If the emperor blames them, will he find trouble with them? Steward, where did Lord Gao get this liar from? He actually made such things for the emperor. What if? A cook asked the steward eunuch worriedly. Shh. Keep your voice down. Don't let them hear you. Who saw that girl smile just now? Say it yourself. Hurry up and go back to prepare for the funeral. Otherwise it will be too late. The steward eunuch's face was full of fear. He looked in the direction where the 3 people left. Gao Lisher and the others didn't know what happened in the kitchen. They walked all the way to the bank of the Chu River. Li Longji had been waiting for a long time. He found a storyteller to talk about the things in Idyll. Although most of the stories were exaggerated, he still liked to listen. When he heard that Gao Lisher led Xiao Bao and Cuckoo over, he immediately asked someone to warm the wine. This wine was a low-alcohol tonic wine from the hospital. He threw in 2 sour plums to taste it. He didn't know what he was thinking. The storyteller was talking about how Cuckoo led the troops to burn the Tibetan grain and how light cavalry galloped across the border. This time, Gao Lisher and the others came over. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo handed over all the miscellaneous things on their bodies. There were guns, hidden arrows, poison needles, knives under boots, necklaces with poison, belts with spring thorns on them, daggers tied to their calves, and bracelets that could be pulled out of a thin steel wire that was a zhang long. There was no need for others to mention these things. He took them out himself. The person in charge of collecting the things and Gao Lisher were speechless. Keep them. When we go back, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have to carry them. Gao Lisher instructed the person in charge of collecting the weapons. The person nodded. If it wasn't for Gao Lisher, he would have pried open the 2 children's mouths to take a look. After walking past the person, Gao Lisher asked, Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, why are you 2 carrying so many things? For self-defense. Cuckoo and I are young, so it's easy for others to use them to threaten our family. If anyone has any ideas about us, Cuckoo and I will make them regret it. Oh, tell that person not to touch them. Some of the things are poisonous. It's the kind that kills upon contact with blood. Zhang Xiaobao told the truth. Gao Lisher patted their heads again. It's really not easy. It's been hard on you too. In the future, Uncle Gao will assign a few more experts to you so that you won't be harmed by others. Don't worry, no one will touch your things. If they do and you get poisoned, you deserve it. I won't save you even if I can. When the three of them saw Li Longji, he was throwing sour plums into the wine. Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. He looked at the sky. What was the meaning of this? Drinking sour plums to talk about heroes? There probably wouldn't be thunder. After throwing the sour plums into the wine, Li Longji raised his head and saw the three of them. He stood up and hurriedly walked over to them. He didn't say anything and just stood in front of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, staring at them. Your subjects greet your majesty. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan bowed to Li Longji. Good, come over here. We were just waiting for you two distinguished guests to arrive. It's really nice, better than the painting. When I heard that you two were about to return to the capital, I was very happy. Back then, when you were fighting outside, I couldn't sleep well and couldn't eat well. I was afraid that the Tubo people would harm you. You guys are also too much. I told you to come back early, but you just had to run around in the desert. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have sent you a decree to come out of seclusion to provide reinforcements. Li Longji changed his usual manner of speaking to his subjects. He snatched Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo from Gao Lisher's hands and pulled them to the place where they came from. He spoke as he walked. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Your Majesty gave us a chance to contribute. If we didn't come out of seclusion, wouldn't we have let Your Majesty down? The Tubo people are actually very stupid. They were confused after going around in circles and didn't dare to enter the desert. Your subject found good things in the desert and trained the soldiers at the same time. Wang Wan followed along. You can't do that next time. If you want to go, you have to bring more elite soldiers. Well said, the Tubo people are indeed very stupid. An army of 40,000, but they didn't dare to take a step into the desert. The courage they had to invade the border every year was beaten to death by Cuckoo. Come, let us toast to the two heroes. Do you want a drink? Li Longji didn't believe that the Tubo people were stupid. However, when he heard Wang Wan's words, he was still happy. This battle was awe-inspiring and he fought to his heart's content. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan smelled the alcohol in the cup and knew that it was a low-level remedy. They looked at the cup and saw that it wasn't big, so they nodded and accepted the cup. Then they downed the wine with Li Longji and Gao Lisher. After drinking a cup of wine, Li Longji couldn't wait and said, Quickly bring Cuckoo and Xiaobao's dishes over. Let's try it. Chapter 659. Li Longji asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan after tasting the watermelon slices. In fact, he didn't even know what it was. Usually, no one dared to give him watermelon skin. Wang Wan spread out the pancake, smeared a layer of sauce on it and rolled the green onions. She opened her mouth and took a bite, saying, That's okay, but the other cooks have to listen to me and Xiaobao. Xiaobao, your sauce is bland. If you don't believe me, you can try it. I don't need to taste it to know what's going on. Your pancake has 2 layers. Zhang Xiaobao admired the craftsmanship of the royal chef. The pancake was very thin, but it was thicker than the usual one. Oh, the pancake is too thin. Don't you know to add some soybean flour? It's not delicious. Wang Wan looked carefully and found it was indeed 2 layers. Seeing the 2 little guys in front of him talking while eating, Li Longji's appetite was also aroused. He took a pancake, rolled it up like Wang Wan, took a big bite and nodded with satisfaction. It's delicious and refreshing. I'll eat one every day in the future. Be sure try it too. You can't be a cook. Both of you are great talents and you have to do big things. Go to a small place to practice first and then use it for big things. Gao Lisher also ate, but he couldn't eat in big mouthfuls like Xiaobao and Cuckoo. He scooped a spoonful of desert cistanche and deer marrow soup, slowly tasted it, swallowed a mouthful and then said, Your Majesty is praising Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They are still young, so they need to practice and learn more. In the future they will also be the top scorer. They can't enter the imperial court by being conferred the title of an official. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan nodded hard. They didn't dislike Gao Lisher's words at all. He thought they were talents and outsiders always praised them. The more Li Longji ate, the happier he became. No matter how much he looked at the 2 children, he couldn't get enough of them. Occasionally he would say a few words and it didn't take long for the 4 of them to finish all 4 dishes. He asked the waiter to remove the plates and the original wine, and replace them with wine and fruits. Li Longji even ate a dashan pill and he was full again. Taking a sip of wine he said, Chujiang flows like a river, it's more lively when there are more people. Right now there are only a few people, why don't we have Xiaobao and Cuckoo compose a poem? I heard from Bai Shu and Yao Chong that the 2 of you are quite knowledgeable. Gao Lisher was afraid that his godson and daughter-in-law wouldn't be able to do it, so he added, "Just read what you've written before to Her Majesty." "That's right. Otherwise, I would have asked the two of you to compose a poem with snow as the theme." Li Longji also felt that it was difficult for Gao Lisher. He glanced at Gao Lisher as if to say that even if they were your son and daughter-in-law, you shouldn't protect them like this, right? Gao Lisher pretended that he didn't see it. He thought to himself, if I don't protect them, who will? Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei considered for a while, then said, "Since Her Majesty wants us to compose a poem, then this subject will compose one. Uncle Gao, please drink slowly. And snow, the cold wind comes from the north. The snow is abundant in winter. The vegetables in the shed are healthy and growing. The money from selling them can be used to fill a jar." "Good, that's enough to make money." Gao Lisher immediately praised his godson for composing a good poem. "Then I'll also compose a poem." Wang Wan seemed to be unconvinced as she said, "I'm also a snow. Say the cold wind comes from the north. The snow is traceable. The rain of flying locusts hangs in the sky. The silver hook shines as cold as ice. The blood is thicker than peach blossoms." Good. This time, Li Longji didn't wait for Gao Lisher to speak. He knew that even if he didn't praise Gao Lisher, he would still praise him. Not to mention whether the poem was good or bad, just the line, "The blood is thicker than peach blossoms," was enough to make people feel the atmosphere of the battlefield. After praising, he said, "Compose another poem with this flowing water." "Then I'll go first." Zhang Xiaobao drank a mouthful of wine, making people feel that he also wanted to compose a poem about the border. He said, "The flowing water carries the ferry. The ferry sails and bends at both ends, transporting goods between the north and the south. The goods sold are money." It's my turn. Say the flowing water gurgles. The weather is warm. The soldiers are wrapped in corpses at the border. They don't listen to the call of their homeland. They bravely kill the enemy in other places. Wang Wan continued. "Good, there's also clouds. Compose a poem with clouds." Li Longji said again. It was still Zhang Xiaobao who spoke first. "Clouds are leisurely people walking. They eat, drink, and play for a while. Open a small shop by the roadside and sell countless rice, salt, and oil. Clouds are leisurely and don't look back. They expand the territory for 1,000 years. Who says that when a heroic soul grabs a handful of soil, it's the warmth of spring and the return of autumn?" Wang Wan followed. The first 4 words were all said by Zhang Xiaobao. Li Longji and Gao Lisher finally understood what was going on. One of them only cared about money while the other only cared about killing people. The poem was not as good as the opening of a storyteller, but the meaning was clearly expressed. Money and war, how did this pair end up together? "Is it not good?" Wang Wan asked timidly. She knew very well that of course it was not good. She and Xiaobao were just making up nonsense. If this poem was heard by Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, the two of them would definitely cry. "Good, who says it's not good? One can make a lot of money, the other can win battles. Who says it's not good? We'll bury him with money and lead troops to suppress him." Li Longji still had to be coaxed. No matter what, he was still better than an ordinary 9-year-old child. His poem was bad, but he could still learn. There was no hurry. When the time came for the imperial examinations, who would be the top scorer? Gao Lisher also praised from the side, "It's been a long time since I've heard such a good poem. I didn't expect to hear it again today. Xiaobao, Cuckoo, why don't the two of you compose a poem together and then go to the imperial zoo to play?" "Yes, let's go to the zoo to take a look and compose a poem together." Li Longji also had something to ask. It just so happened that the last poem had ended, so he changed the location. "Okay, this subject will listen to the emperor. I'll be the first line. Say, look at the boundless waves rolling." Zhang Xiaobao spoke first as usual. "The sky is high, the water is clear, and the 100 sails lift." Wang Wan followed. "The goshawk spreads its wings and chases the clouds. The koi fish roasts its fins and leaps over the fire. Why fear the rain 1,000 times? Why worry about the wind and mist for 10,000 feet? The long cry is distant, the waves still ripple. The angry roar lingers in the world." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each spoke one line and finished the last poem. Li Longji and Gao Lisher felt that the last poem was much better than the previous one, but they couldn't say for sure. After all, they didn't know that this was the 7 commandments beginning and ending. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan strictly followed the modern-style poem. They couldn't keep fooling people. If Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao found out, they would find the two of them every day to practice their poems. After casually praising them, Li Longji and Gao Lishir brought the two children to see the animals. When they arrived, Li Longji didn't put his thoughts on the animals. He asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "What does making models have to do with building a zoo?" "There isn't much of a relationship. It's just that the animals are all collected from all over the Great Tang. When the time comes, you can introduce what the place looks like. If you want to see the animals, the people from the real place will come to this subject's place to see them. This subject will also introduce what animals are in a certain place and let the tourists come to the capital." When Zhang Xiaobao heard Li Longji suddenly ask about this matter, he immediately explained. As for the deeper meaning, he felt that it was better not to reveal it early so as to avoid Li Longji stealing his business. Chapter 660. While Zhang Xiaobao was explaining how to contact the capital, Wang Wan began to look at the animals. There were footprints of wolves, monkeys, and bears. She didn't see any bears, so she guessed that they were hibernating. After looking through it a few times and flipping through the records book, Wang Wan shook her head. "Your Majesty, there are too few animals. Most of them can be seen. It's either a 5-legged sheep or a 2-headed turtle. There isn't even a giant panda. When the zoo is built in the future, we need to find more animals that can represent the zoo. This is the Great Tang Zoo, so we have to collect all the animals that represent the country. Xiaobao and I are quite familiar with some of the animals. After we catch them, we will have a general outline and write a detailed introduction. As for the animals that we don't recognize, we will need others to figure it out. For the animals that like heat, we need to create a hot environment for them. For the animals that like cold, we need to use ice to help. For the animals that like cold, we need to first transport the food from the local area. That way we will spend a lot of money. Next year Xiaobao and I will think of a way to solve this problem." Li Longji didn't care about Wang Wan changing the way she addressed him. He listened carefully to Wang Wan. When Wang Wan said that she and Xiaobao could recognize many animals, he was surprised. Then he asked curiously, "What is a panda?" "It's a round head, usually white, with dark circles under its eyes. Its 4 limbs are black and its belly is white. There are also some with black bellies. It has a chubby appearance and the expression on its face is like that of a human. It likes to eat bamboo. No, it likes to eat meat. But it can be fed bamboo. The bamboo in Jianan Circuit is not bad. Xiaozhu has a doll that is a panda." Wang Wan explained as she gestured. She had a wish to raise 2 pandas since they were young and obedient. Li Longji suddenly understood. "I know, it's an iron-eating beast. I raised 2 of them before, but they died this summer. They weren't chubby, they were skinny." "Died? Yeah. You won't lose weight once you're full. When you're free you should take your temperature. My family will send a batch of thermometers over. It's a pity. The zoo has invested a lot in the early stages, but once it starts to attract customers, it will make a lot of money in a short period of time. Once people who can afford to spend it are sick of it, it will gradually decrease. The solution is Xiaobao." When Wang Wan started to introduce the problem of income, she said that it was going to be soon. She couldn't think of a solution at that moment, so she bumped into Zhang Xiaobao. "The solution is not to wait for all the animals in the country to arrive at the same time. Just open a place for each animal. There will always be new animals joining and it will always attract people. After the Tang Empire's animals are found, they will go out to look for them. I estimate that it will take 100 years to find all of them." Zhang Xiaobao immediately took over and explained his method. After hearing it, Li Longji felt that it was feasible. He really didn't care that the zoo could make a lot of money. This year the imperial court wasn't short of money. Tubo didn't give out a lot of pensions and the money for the war was paid by the Zhang family and Wang family. The Zhang family's business was opened in Jianan Circuit. In the future they wouldn't have to spend money every year except for Idyll. If they managed it well they could even collect rent and taxes. "Xiaobao Cuckoo, why do you insist on occupying Tubo's desert?" When Li Longji thought about how Zhang family and Wang family developed that productive force every time they went to a place, he thought of the Tubo desert that the imperial court had to give him and asked the 2 of them. "Desert? Alright, there is such a thing. Your Majesty, that desert is different from other places. If you manage it well you can make a lot of money. Among the dishes we ate today, there is a dish with desert cistanche that was brought back from there. There are also many other medicinal herbs and the products of the lake. This subject is preparing to contact the merchants of Jianan Circuit to manage it together. That place is good. We can plant some grapes and various kinds of jujubes by the lake. They are sweet and can be made into fruits. In the future we can send some to your Majesty and Uncle Gao every year. The most important thing is that we don't have to worry about bandits. The friendly Tubo will help to look after it. Otherwise we will have to trouble Cuckoo to lead an army to eliminate them. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't afraid that Li Longji would snatch Tubo's desert. He told him the benefits, but he didn't mention anything about his future plans. The corners of Li Longji's mouth also curled up. When he thought about Tubo sending troops to help look after his territory that belonged to someone else, his mood became better. At this time, Gao Lisher anxiously said, "Your Majesty, tomorrow is the 30th day of the month. This subject still has some matters to attend to. Why don't we let Xiaobao and Cuckoo help? After the new year they will go to that place." "Good, I approve. After the 30th day of the month, I will also take care of your matters." Li Longji understood Gao Lisher's meaning. He had to hurry up and recognize his adopted son. He didn't want to wait until the 50th day of the first lunar month. Li Longji went to another place. Gao Lisher happily led Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo to play. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also found Gao Lisher very pleasing to the eye. The two of them didn't understand why in so many unofficial histories, Gao Lisher was described very poorly. Could it be that it was because he was a eunuch? Or could it be that the eunuch's authority started from him? The two of them accompanied Gao Lisher on a stroll and told him about all kinds of local customs. They selectively talked about things in the sky and on the ground, how big the fish in the sea was, why they sprayed water, why bears didn't hibernate, why fruits were sour and sweet, why the side of an apple that was illuminated by the sun was red, how glass could be used to grow a square cold melon, how apples that had been pasted with paper could have the character for fortune, how to eat chives, how to not let the sun shine on them, and so on. Gao Lisher originally thought that he knew a lot of things. He didn't expect that there were even more things that he didn't know. While enjoying this hard-earned warmth, he also sighed at Xiaobao and Cuckoo's erudition. He understood that it was definitely not a coincidence that the two of them were able to win two separate wars. How could they learn so much knowledge? They were probably exhausted. While other children were playing, these two children had to learn. Furthermore, they had to be very intelligent. It was hard on the children. These two experts were really too much. Were they going to die? Why did they have to force the children to learn so desperately? "Uncle Gao, next summer Cuckoo and I will plant square watermelons and apples and send them to you. In fact, it's not bad to plant by DZ there. However, I'm afraid that it will delay the normal grain yield. I have to urge the people in the agriculture temple to figure out a good rice seed as soon as possible." Zhang Xiaobao felt that too much land was wasted. Basically, it was used to plant grains and the yield was low. They had searched everywhere for rice, but they couldn't see what hybrid rice looked like. Gao Lisher felt that he had never been as happy as he was today. He nodded with a smile and agreed. "Okay, it's okay if you can't plant it. It's good that you have the intention. After the new year, I'll urge the agriculture temple to plant by DZ in the places around Luzhou. But Buxin County definitely can't do it. Many eyes are watching there. By DZ is good stuff. Look, I'm wearing this waistcoat that your family sent over. It's warm and there's also the bedding for sleeping at night. Although it's not as good as duck down or cashmere, it's better in terms of weight. It's comfortable to press on my body. Remember, if you have any good weapons at home, tell me first. I'll mention it to His Majesty. You won't have to worry about being impeached if you use it in the future. I won't harm you." As Gao Lisher spoke, he mentioned that the Zhang family and Wang family always came up with frightening things. He promised. Zhang Xiaobao of course understood. He was going to be a godfather soon, so he wouldn't harm his godson for no reason. He nodded and said, "Actually, I'm researching it. The effect of the weapons in the war this time wasn't ideal. When the guns hit the body, they were blocked by the leather armor so they couldn't kill. The byproduct of the research is the falling cannons. I'll ask someone to send some to Uncle Gao to play with." Okay. The things that Xiaobao and Cuckoo sent over are all good. Gao Lisher didn't care what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said now. He was fine with whatever they said. It was almost evening when Gao Lisher reluctantly sent someone to send Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan back to Savant's restaurant. The two of them went to sleep as soon as they came back. They slept until the morning of the 30th, and their fatigue finally disappeared. Then it was the new year. A new year had arrived amidst the sounds of firecrackers all over the city. Early in the morning of the first day of the new year, people came over to give New Year's greetings. The Zhang family and Wang family, as well as the old man Pai and the others, were busy receiving guests and receiving gifts. At the same time, they also sent people to return gifts. They were busy all the way until the 5th day of the new year. Finally, Gao Lisher found some time to visit the Zhang family. Then he returned to his own home. The Zhang family brought Zhang Xiaobao over. After a set of cumbersome procedures, Zhang Xiaobao changed to calling him adoptive father. Only then was it considered over. Many people came to congratulate him. Li Longji also came over. He came quickly and left quickly, but it didn't affect other people's new views of Zhang Xiaobao or the Zhang family. Gao Lishir gave Zhang Xiaobao a big red packet, and a token that allowed him to enter the palace. Actually, it was given by Li Longji. Zhang Xiaobao also gave Gao Lishir a big fish tank with 18 beautiful fish inside. Even if Gao Lishir didn't want to care, he couldn't. The fish tank had a backup thermometer, a heater, and an oxygen pump. It was a set of big and small things from top to bottom like a mountain and flowing water. Most importantly, the fish tank wasn't square or round. Instead, it was shaped like a mountain. There were real mountain rocks and small trees inside. It was a huge bonsai with 3 different colors of fish swimming inside. Usually, manual equipment wasn't needed, but when there was no wind, the water circulation had to be done manually. Disregarding the price of the items, the main thing was that no one else had them. What's more, now that they had adopted a son, the Zhang and Wang families would send anything good they had to the capital. Some people envied the Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Wang families, while others envied Gao Lishir. After all, the Zhang family and Wang family didn't take out many good things and only used them in their own home. Those were things that people couldn't buy even with money. After the adoption ceremony, Zhang Zhong was finally going to leave the capital and take up his post in the eastern capital of Luoyang. He was going to be the left servant of Minister Xie. Even Wang Wan's father also had a specific position, assistant minister of the Ministry of War. They weren't minor officials and they were considered actual positions. An actual position in Luoyang was still a required position in the Great Tang, but it wasn't a trivial position. After the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, those who were supposed to go to work had already gone to work. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still had to stay with Gao Lishir for 2 days. They also received a secret order that if there were any riots or revolts, the 2 of them could mobilize the prefectural army. Compared to the local generals, Li Longji was more willing to trust Wang Wan. Zhang family and Wang family delayed until the 15th day of the Lunar New Year before they left in a grandiose manner. Chapter 661. The 2 of them traveled in the water during the day and rested by the shore at night. After 5 days of traveling, they finally arrived at County 0. It was a very small county. Although it was a middle county, it was calculated based on the population, not the size of the place. No matter what, it was still a good place with a relatively high population density. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked side by side. The land here was good. They came from other counties, and they could see the local people composting the fields in preparation for the spring plowing. The others followed them from a distance after disguising themselves. From time to time they would ask the local people if they wanted to buy something. The 3 cars were filled with many daily necessities and simple medicines. The prices were very cheap. It was so cheap that it was only slightly higher than the cost of production. It was not even enough to cover the transportation costs. The most important thing was that there were many farming tools. The people who were not busy now gathered around to look or ask. During the contact, the people who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan got a lot of information. Boxing County was not big, but if they wanted to walk all the way from the outside to the county, it would take them more than half a day to get there. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked around as they walked, trying to find a means of transportation. When the people in the field saw the 2 of them, they gave them a few glances before continuing with their work. The children were more curious about what the 2 of them were wearing. They did not look like ordinary people's clothes, but they were also very old. If they were from a rich family and did not see any adults following them, could it be that they sneaked out? Or did something happen at home? Some children insisted that the 2 people they saw just now were the kind of people who suddenly had an accident at home and felt sad. Some children did not think so. When they saw 2 well-dressed children coming over, they wanted to get some benefits from them. They called out and gathered 6 children who were about 12 or 13 years old. They surrounded Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "Hey you 2, where did you come from? Do you know where this is?" The bravest leader asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were taller than him. There were so many of them, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Instead of helping out in the fields, you came out to cause trouble. Now that something has happened, your family will be sad. While the river is still open, find a few more people and use a fork to poke some toads. Later, someone in the county town will take them in. Not just the legs but the whole toad. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the 6 people and saw that the linen clothes they wore were not thick. The weather was not completely warm yet, so he gave an evaluation. They were not poor but they were not rich either. Ordinary families, or slightly better off, always treated themselves as adults, but they did not help with the work. This meant that there were enough people in the family. The family head could handle everything. Thinking that there was already a toad coming out, it wouldn't be bad to collect some sauce and stew it, so he reminded the 6 of them. 3 of the 6 people's eyes lit up and prepared to poke the toads, but the other 3 did not intend to do so. The one who spoke just now pinched his waist and said angrily, "I'm asking you a question. You don't need to care about the toads. Tell me, did you commit a crime and come here? Do you have money on you? You want to rob? That's a big crime and your family won't be able to protect you. Have you thought it through? There is money and it's right here. Do you want to rob it or use the toads to exchange for it? It's best to catch it with your hands and put it in a basket. 10 toads for 1 copper coin." Zhang Xiaobao frowned. He had a bad impression of the family of the child who spoke. If they were disciplined, how would they dare to rob others? When the 3 children who were tempted heard that 10 toads could be exchanged for 1 copper coin, they immediately chose to exchange. They did not care about the leader anymore. After saying that they would go and catch the toads, they ran to the river. One of the remaining 3 children was also tempted. He did not run to catch the toads, but he took a few steps back. His meaning was very clear. Only 2 children were left. They looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and hesitated for a while. In the end, they did not dare to make a move. The child who spoke just now said to Zhang Xiaobao, "1 copper coin for 10 toads is too little. 1 copper coin for 5 toads." 10 toads, Zhang Xiaobao replied. 6 toads. The child continued to raise the price. 10 toads. If you want to exchange, then exchange. We will only buy 100 toads. If we buy enough, then we won't buy any more, Zhang Xiaobao said again. Then you are not allowed to leave. I will go and catch them. The child compromised. He turned around and ran to catch the toads. He also asked another person to make a simple basket to put them in. Seeing that the children had left, Wang sighed and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, is there a problem with the customs here?" "No, it has nothing to do with the customs. There are good and bad people everywhere. Let's wait. When they catch the toads, we will bring them to braise them and taste them." Zhang Xiaobao saw a big tree nearby. Under the tree there was a big stone that people often sat on. He said to Wang while walking there, "Then you want to educate them? After you accept the job, you will find a way to find people to spread the news." Wang followed him to the big stone. She blew the dust and sat on it. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the big tree behind him and shook his head. "Don't spread the news first. Think of a way to improve the living standards of the local people first. Then we will carry out the basic construction and beautify Buxin County. That way many people will consciously protect this living environment. Just like some villagers always like to spit. Not to mention the road in the village, they will also spit on the ground of their own home. Then they will rub their feet on the ground. It has nothing to do with quality. It is just a habit. But when they eat in a luxurious hotel, even if they have phlegm, they will not spit on the ground. This is the influence of the environment. I know this. But it has nothing to do with the children bullying outsiders, right? Wang always felt that this kind of thing was a problem of family education. How can it have nothing to do with it? If the children bully outsiders, it means that the adults in the family do not value them. But when their life is better, they will cherish this life very much. They will pay attention to some behaviors that can make their lives worse. If you don't believe me, we can try it. At that time you can also spread the news. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he took out 11 copper coins from his inner pocket. He felt a lot more relaxed. The money was too heavy. The 2 of them only brought a total of 100 copper coins. The rest was silver. They didn't bring flying money. It might not be able to flow freely in this place. Just try it. Why did you take out an extra copper coin? Wang glanced at the money and found that there was 1 more copper coin. Buy the basket. I will let them know now that there is a return on investment. Even if the truth is not true, I have to give them this idea and let them work hard to fight for it. Besides, the basket can be sold for money. Zhang Xiaobao placed the 11 copper coins into a circle and patiently waited for the 6 children to catch the toad. While waiting, another 3 children came. 2 of them were 10-year-old boys and 1 was 7 or 8-year-old girl. You guys go quickly. Xiaohei is bad. He always bullies people. If you are late, he will beat you. The girl kindly advised. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at Wang as if to say, "How is it? Are there any good ones?" He took out a dagger from his leg and waved it in front of the 3 people. He said, "Don't be afraid. I have a knife." The 3 people were relieved. In their minds, this knife was very powerful and could kill people. Then you are not afraid? Did something happen to your family and you fled here? The girl asked again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads at the same time. Then what is going on? The girl looked like she wanted to ask clearly. My name is Zhang Xiaobao. She is Wang Wan. We are here to take office. That is, to be an official. In the county, she is the deputy county magistrate and I am the chief secretary. That is the 9th rank official. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at Wang Wan and then pointed at himself. The girl blinked her big eyes and shook her head in disbelief. You are lying. Official? How can a little girl be an official? My name is Luo Xiang. This is my eldest brother and second brother. My eldest brother is older than second brother by 1.5 years. But second brother is older. We are really here to take office as the chief secretary and deputy county magistrate. Now let me ask you, do you have any difficulties? Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei coughed and asked. Luo Xiang laughed even louder. She shrunk into her eldest brother's arms and said, It is fun. Then my family needs you to help us. Deputy County Magistrate Wang, it is your turn. This is your problem. I do not care about this. Zhang Xiaobao moved aside and pushed Wang Wan to the front. Wang Wan was helpless. She thought to herself, Zhang Xiaobao likes children, but he can't play with children every time he sees one. How old is he? Seeing Luo Xiang's expectant face, he had to cooperate and asked, Luo Xiang, what is your family's problem? Tell me quickly. I will help you. Deputy County Magistrate Wang, my family, my mother is really sick. My brother and I want to cut some grass to feed the pig at home. Tomorrow we will sell it in the county to buy medicine for my mother. But the grass has only grown a little. Luo Xiang, thought it was fun at first. But when it came to the details, her eyes turned red and tears welled up in them. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the expressions of Luo Xiang's 2 brothers and knew that it was not a joke. He nodded to Wang Wan. Wang Wan immediately stopped playing and said to Luo Xiang, Sister will help you. Take this and ask one of your brothers to go to Tongxiang. There are peddlers selling all kinds of things there. If you think you can use it, you can ask for it. There are also common medicinal herbs there. Wang Wan took out a piece of silk from her pocket when she was talking. There was a rusty rice seedling on it and she handed it to Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang was sad when she saw the sister in front of her hand over something. She reached out and took it. She felt it and knew it was valuable. She hesitated and handed it back. She said, Father and Mother always say that we can't accept benefits for free. This beautiful sister, do you want to use this to exchange medicine for us? I can't. Wang Wan suddenly realized that the difference between Luo Xiang and the child just now was too big. One wanted to rob things while the other did not want to accept things without doing anything. If she was an ordinary person, this would be called charity. But she was really an official. Although her rank was not high, the whole Baoxing County would be under her and Xiaobao's management in the future. The new county magistrate was just a decoration. So she said, Xiang, sister is really an official, a very high official. Do you know that secondary 2nd rank? This big brother is of the 3rd rank. Even the provincial governor of the Yuzhou prefecture has to greet him. Go, take the things over and bring them back when the time comes. I still have something I need Xiang's help with. Let's help each other, okay? Okay. Is a 2nd rank official very high? Are you afraid of it? Xiang finally accepted the thing and asked her second brother to see if he could get it. If he could, her mother would have medicine to eat. She didn't have a specific concept of an official. She only knew that the village magistrate was very high and had to listen to him. If one was higher than the village magistrate, one would be a very high official. Wang Wan took out a small bag of beef jerky from her pocket, pulled Xiang to sit aside, and stuffed it into her hands. I'll treat you to beef jerky. It's made of real beef. No one dares to interfere. Do you think I'm an official? A very high official. Luo Xiang had always thought that her brother and sister were lying. But when she saw the beef jerky and tasted it, she found that it did not taste like pork or chicken. She had no choice but to believe it. She nodded and said, Yes, a high official. No one cares about killing cows? I told sister that last year, a cow in the village broke its leg. It can't work anymore and can only be killed for meat. The village magistrate hid it from the yamen runners and said that it died of illness. He even took a lot of money and cut off one of its legs and gave it to the yamen runners. Sister's beef jerky, the yamen runners don't dare to interfere, right? Then I'll eat it. If they interfere, I won't eat it. When the time comes, I'll give it to the yamen runners and they won't make things difficult for me. Wang Wan nodded and motioned for Luo Xiang to eat. Then she turned to look at Zhang Xiaobao and said, it seems that we have a long way to go. As soon as we take office, we have to deal with the Yamen runners. We can't kill people casually like Lu Zhou, so we have to do it according to the law. It's easy to kill people. Let's not reveal our identities first and find a way to anger the Yamen runners. Then we can lure them to rob us with good things. When the time comes, we can kill them. No one can say anything. Even if you kill them directly, it will be fine. My godfather is Gao Lisher. It's good to have a good father. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, and as he spoke he laughed. Go do your own thing. Don't always mention your father. Follow the procedures. Otherwise, why do we need the law? Xiang'er is not afraid. I'm just joking with you. We won't kill people. Do you think I look like I can kill people? Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and comforted Luo Xiang'er, who shrank to the side in fear when she heard their words. Luo Xiang'er heaved a sigh of relief and replied with a smile, the beef jerky is delicious. I'm not the kind of person who will kill people. You look so beautiful when you smile. If you want my help, I'll definitely help. Even if I can't get the medicine back, I'll help. The innocent Xiang'er did not know that this cheap sister's smile had once frightened many warriors in Tubo. They even found reasons to prove it. Wang Wan hugged Luo Xiang'er, looked at the sky and said, I just want to know how Xiang'er's life is in the village. Is there anyone who gives lectures? Life is like that. My mother is sick, but we have food to eat and clothes to wear. No one gives lectures. Those who are capable don't come to our village. Even if they come, no one will let the children learn. We can't afford to pay. I heard from a passerby last time that there is a place where people don't need to give things to the headmaster. Luo Xiang'er seemed very helpless about the second question. At this time her brother also said, I heard that the place is called Sanshui County. It's very, very far away from here, but the children there have been taught to read since they were young. If only this place could be like that. They have a good official there. Yes, they will. In fact, it doesn't cost too much. It's the same for the children in Enchanting County. Zhang Xiaobao promised. Sister, can you read? Do you know how to write your own name? Xiang'er doesn't know how to write yet. Luo Xiang'er looked at Wang Wan expectantly. Wang Wan suddenly lamented that the people in this era had such low expectations. They treated writing their own name as an expectation. She nodded to Luo Xiang'er and said, Yes, sister can write Xiang'er's name. Come, sister will teach Xiang'er how to write. Wang Wan signaled to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao went to find a dry branch and handed it to her. Wang Wan began to write Luo Xiang'er's name on the ground. While Luo Xiang'er was learning how to write her own name, the 6 people who went to catch the toads came back. They put the toads in a basket and 2 people carried them to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The child who wanted to rob the toads at first stared at the money Zhang Xiaobao put on the stone. Here are 10 tens. There are 2 tens. It should be 12 coins. The child said to Zhang Xiaobao. I only want to buy 100. I don't want the rest. Pick them out. I will pay 1 coin for each basket. Zhang Xiaobao was very determined. We have caught all of them. I don't care. I will only take 100. Fuhaizi, don't bully people. Luo Xiang'er's big brother stood up and said. Luo Fan, don't think that I am afraid of you just because you can beat me. I have more people today. Fu Haizi saw that someone was helping, so he refused to back down. Then let's try. Come at me together. But today we have agreed that you will come at me together. Don't blame me for being ruthless when the time comes. Luo Fan narrowed his eyes and looked at the 6 people. None of them dared to look at him directly. 2 of them were so scared that they took a step back. When Zhang Xiaobao saw this situation, he felt that it was very interesting. It seemed that Luo Xiang'er's big brother was also very strong. From this, he could see that they had fought before. In the end, the other party was at a disadvantage. It was similar to Kuku's style. Fu Haizi didn't seem to want to give up just like that. He said, Luo Fan, you are helping outsiders? I'm not helping outsiders. They are not outsiders. I am teaching my little sister how to write names. If anyone dares to cause trouble today, they will be going against me, Luo Fan. Luo Fan was also someone who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. Just now, when he came, he only asked his little sister to persuade them to leave. He didn't intend to help them. But now it was different. Although he didn't know if his little brother would be able to exchange for something, but his little sister learning how to write names was not a problem. Fu Haizi lowered his head and saw that Luo Xiang'er was working hard to write. He couldn't say anything and could only keep his anger in his heart. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, for Luo Fan's sake, I will give you 20 toads. Teach Xiang'er well. Give me the money. Zhang Xiaobao took out 2 copper coins. For Xiang'er's sake, I will also accept the 20 toads this time. If you catch more toads, remember to send them to the county's yamen. Someone will give you the money. Zhang Xiaobao felt that this was very interesting. Why is he acting like a gangster? He looked at the toads and felt that they were indeed not bad. But when he said this, Fu Haizi didn't dare to take the money. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao and asked in a low voice, "Does your family have a job in the yamen?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaobao could only admit. "Then if I accept your money, will your family find trouble with my family?" Fu Haizi didn't seem to be a fool. "No, I will find trouble with whoever finds trouble with you. This is a fair trade. It has nothing to do with other things." Zhang Xiaobao was even more certain that the yamen here was bullying the common people. Fu Haizi let out a sigh of relief. He took the money and said, "Actually, no one is willing to spend 1 copper coin to buy 10 toads. There isn't much meat. 2 legs aren't even enough to eat. We have already agreed on the money. You can't let your family find trouble with my family." I definitely won't. If there are more toads in the future, I will send them to the yamen," Zhang Xiaobao promised. At the same time, he wondered if he should let people raise toads in the area. Who said that eating toads meant eating legs? That was because they didn't know how to eat toads, but they knew how to eat mouth to mouth. Fu Haizi happily took the money and went to spend it with the other 5 people. No one knew what they would buy. As soon as he left, Luo Xiang'er's second brother came back with a pile of things in his arms. He was also holding Wang Wan's handkerchief in his hand. His eyes were straight as if his soul had left his body. Luo Xiang'er finally remembered how to write her name. She looked up and saw her second brother come back with a lot of things. She quickly asked, "Second brother, did you change all of these?" "I know how to write my name now." Luo Xiang'er's second brother nodded blankly. He gently put down the things and carefully handed the handkerchief to Wang Wan. He exhaled and looked at Wang Wan in disbelief. He asked, "Is it really an official?" "When the seller saw this handkerchief, he asked me about my family. After I told him, he gave me a lot of things including medicine. He didn't take the handkerchief and asked me to return it." "Really? Let me see what you have." "A kitchen knife, a new porcelain bowl, a roll of cloth, a small mirror, scissors, and the medicine my mother needs to take." "Did you really give it to her?" "Second brother, I'm an official and I know how to write." Luo Xiang'er looked at the things one by one. The more she looked, the happier she became. She said to her second brother, sat back beside Wang Wan and said to Wang Wan, "Sister, ask me again. I'll tell you what you ask. I'll help you in the future." "No, you've just finished asking. I've helped you a lot." Wang Wan put away the handkerchief that represented her identity and said to Luo Xiang'er with a smile. Luo Xiang'er nodded, looking very embarrassed. She always felt that she had contributed less and received more. She could return the other things, but she really wanted to keep the medicine. Suddenly, she thought of something and asked, "Sister, is that handkerchief your identity as an official? Isn't that bullying the seller? They're all my family members and my goods. Otherwise, why would they give it to you? Since you're here to take office, you can't bring no one with you. You'll be bullied." Wang Wan was afraid that Luo Xiang'er would misunderstand that she was the same as the previous bailiffs. It was a matter of image, so she had to explain clearly. Luo Xiang'er nodded and said, "No wonder you're not afraid of Little Black. It turns out that you brought a lot of people. If you're really an official, then you have to control the bailiffs in the future and not let them bully people." "Yes, I'll definitely control them. I'll punish any bailiffs that don't listen to me," Wang Wan said solemnly. After asking all the questions, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to walk forward. They asked Luo Xiang'er to help them hand the toad to the people behind them. They also promised that they would catch the toad and send it to the county government office. The two walked forward for a full 2 hours. At noon, there was not even a snack stall on the side of the road. They also didn't see any hawkers. Just as they were about to wait for the people behind them and leave after lunch, a donkey cart came from the road behind them. The cart was empty. The person driving the cart had a strong body, but there were many wrinkles on his face. He looked like he had been through a lot of hardships. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and stopped the cart. He said to the person driving the cart, "Uncle, can you give us a ride? We're too tired from walking." The person driving the cart looked at his donkey with pity, but he still agreed, "Come on up. You're just 2 children. It's not that heavy." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan quickly jumped on the cart. They sat on the left and right sides of the person driving the cart. Swinging their legs, it was indeed easier than walking by themselves. "Uncle, what did your cart transport?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at the traces of firewood, but he still tried to find a topic to ask the person driving the cart. We sold a cart of firewood and earned 5 copper coins. When we go back we can buy 2 tails of meat and make dumplings. Are you 2 here to visit relatives? The person driving the cart didn't use the whip. The donkey walked forward by itself. It seemed to be very obedient. It replied to Zhang Xiaobao and asked again. Yes, I'm Zhang Xiaobao. She's Wang Wan. We're the new county registrar and deputy magistrate of Baoxing County. Sorry to trouble you, uncle. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to lie. Since the other party asked, he would just tell them the truth. The person driving the cart also didn't believe Zhang Xiaobao's words. He thought that Zhang Xiaobao was deliberately hiding his identity. He laughed and didn't ask any more questions. He leisurely drove his cart. After the sun moved a little, the person driving the cart opened a bag beside him and took out a steamed bun. He also took out a water bag and ate it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still hungry. Of the 2 of them, only Wang Wan had brought some snacks. Although it wasn't a big deal to go hungry, it was still uncomfortable. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed his saliva and said, Uncle, can you sell me 2 steamed buns? 2 steamed buns are enough. I see that there are still a few left. You can eat them? Then take them. You don't have to pay. It's not easy for a child to be hungry. The person driving the cart was kind. He gave Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan 2 steamed buns each. These steamed buns were not made of white flour, nor were they as simple as millet. They were mixed with millet and sorghum husks and then steamed. When they were eaten, it was as if they were cut by a knife. It was hard to swallow. Zhang Xiaobao took a bite and nodded to Wang Wan, who looked over. Wang Wan took out the beef jerky and said to the person driving the cart, Uncle, there is some jerky here. It's salty. It's just right to eat. The person driving the cart couldn't eat it. He took a bite and slowly chewed it. He said, Good stuff. It's actually beef jerky. It seems that your family is good. Is it good to eat? Good, very good. It's better than delicacies. At least I know what's going on here. Zhang Xiaobao took a small bite of the steamed bun and chewed hard as he replied. It wasn't that he didn't want to eat a big bite, but he was worried that he would choke. Small bites could be moistened with saliva. The food was bad, but he could still eat it. Wang Wan was the same. As long as it was something that could supplement the body's nutrition, she could eat it. She could gnaw on grass roots and tree barks, let alone steamed buns. The person driving the cart didn't know that one of the 2 had received special training and the other had fought with his life. He looked at the 2 children who could eat and looked at their clothes. He couldn't believe it. Usually people with a little money wouldn't eat this. How could these 2 children who should be born in a good family eat it? They didn't even frown. He asked again, Is it really delicious? It's not delicious. How can it be better than meat buns? Eat this. It's better than starving. Besides, Uncle is also eating. You'll get used to it. Zhang Xiaobao didn't insist that it was delicious. He ate 2 more mouthfuls and said to the person driving the cart, Uncle, you can't eat it like this. It's harmful. The sorghum shell has to be ground. It will take some time. Then you can soak it in rice soup and wait for it to ferment. When the time comes, you can put it in other noodles. Even if you eat it directly, it won't hurt your mouth. Zhang Xiaobao gave an idea. Since they couldn't change it now, they should try their best to help the local people. Wang Wan also nodded. After fermenting, the taste was different. At the same time, it was soft. There was a different feeling in the mouth. Some people just ate too much good food and insisted on eating this thing. They said that it was coarse grain. Bah, it was clearly a full man who didn't know the hunger of a hungry man. The person driving the cart turned his head and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Really? Then you have to try it when you go back. To be honest, I don't like to eat this thing, but I have this at home. If it's really delicious, then I'll have to thank you. While speaking, the person driving the cart took out 2 copper coins and held it in his hand. When Zhang Xiaobao thought that the person driving the cart was going to reward him, he suddenly saw 2 horses in front of them with 2 people sitting on them. After taking a closer look, he knew who they were. They were Yamen runners. Needless to say, they were the Yamen runners of Baoxing County. As the 2 carriages approached each other, the person in front stopped, dismounted, and waited. The coachman drove the carriage over. When they were about 10 steps away, he stopped the carriage and took out the 2 copper coins he had just fished out. He walked over to the 2 bailiffs and handed them over, saying, "Here's the money. Today's firewood was not good. I only sold it for 5 copper coins. This is 2 copper coins. Please." With a pa sound, one of the 2 Yamen runners raised his hand and slapped the old man. "Who are you kidding? It's getting less and less every day. Yesterday it was 3 copper coins, today it's 2 copper coins. In a few more days will I have to give you money? I really only sold it for 5 copper coins. If it's more then you can't give less. The person driving the cart didn't dare to dodge and endured the slap. He still had to be careful and talk to the old man. 3 copper coins. You can still leave 2 copper coins otherwise? The other yamen runner didn't want to talk nonsense and raised his whip. Ouch. Before the whip fell, an arrow pierced his leg. Although the arrow was short, it went deep into his flesh. The yamen runner immediately screamed and fell to the ground. The whip was also thrown away. Both of his hands pressed on the spot where he was shot and kept crying. The other yamen runner was still puzzled. Why did his brother fall? He looked around and found that other than the person driving the cart and selling firewood, there were only 2 children. They didn't have bows and crossbows in their hands. They just smiled and looked over. After listening for a while, Wang Wan was annoyed and said to the yamen runner, "If you cry again, I'll shoot your throat. Consider it as helping the people get rid of evil." So it's you 2 children. Do you know who we are? The yamen runner, who was fine now, knew that it was the 2 children who had plotted against his brother. He threatened Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Hit him. Wang Wan couldn't hold her breath and shouted. She supported herself with her hands and stood on the cart. Zhang Xiaobao also stood up. Wang Wan rushed forward and stepped on the donkey. She jumped up and kicked the yamen runner's head. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan was going to attack the road, he could only choose to cooperate. He ran down and kicked the yamen runner's legs. Suddenly he stretched out his fist and hit the yamen runner between his legs. In the end, the yamen runner fell to the ground while clutching his crotch. Wang Wan's whip kick missed the yamen runner. She exerted strength in her waist and flipped in the air, landing on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder. This was a move that the 2 of them had researched out of boredom. It was called the tiger and crane double form. They saw it in a very old movie. It was very useful. One attacked the top while the other attacked the bottom. Seeing that the yamen runner had fallen, Wang Wan was still angry. She jumped down and kicked the yamen runner a few more times. The yamen runner rolled to the side with all his strength. How dare you exploit the people? How dare you hit people at will? How dare you talk to me like that? How dare you fall down early? How dare you? Xiaobao, you do it again. Wang Wan said as she kicked. When she ran out of words, she signaled Zhang Xiaobao to continue. Zhang Xiaobao didn't stand on ceremony. He rushed up and kicked as well. How dare you exploit the people? How dare you hit people at will? How dare you talk to Cuckoo like that? How dare you fall down early? You can't. This is the yamen runner of the county. You can't do that. The driver was stunned for a while before he reacted. He stopped Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The driver was also puzzled by what had just happened. How could the 2 children be so powerful? They were the ones who shot the arrow and knocked down the yamen runner. This was an adult and he was finished in one move. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan kicked a few more times before they stopped. They gasped and said, "I'm so angry. I don't believe that I can't deal with the 2 of you." The last yamen runner to fall to the ground had been beaten until he couldn't speak. The main reason was that Wang Wan kicked him again. The yamen runner who fell first was very worried. He was afraid that the 2 children would find him again, so he moved back and threatened them. "We are the yamen runners of the county. You are finished. Tell me, who are you? Otherwise the army will come and take your family's lives." It would have been better if he didn't say anything. Once he said that, Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand and shot another arrow. It flew to the other leg of the yamen runner and said, "I am the new registrar official. Have you heard?" Registrar official? The new one? Which it hurts. The new registrar official is a child? Zhang Xiaobao? She is Cuckoo, Devil Cuckoo. Spare me, I won't dare to do it again. Don't kill me. I have a mother and 3-month-old child waiting for me. Shut up. Wang Wan didn't want to hear him and stared at him. The yamen runner shut his mouth. This time he didn't feel the pain of being shot. He was only worried that he would be killed. The other yamen runner coughed twice and didn't move. His eyes were looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They knew very well who the 3 new people were. A county magistrate, a registrar official, and a deputy county magistrate. The county magistrate wasn't much, but the deputy county magistrate was said to be a devil who had killed countless people in Tubo. He was a person who killed people without blinking an eye. They sighed in their hearts. Why did they have to come out? Now they had met a powerful person. Not to mention beating them up, even if they were killed, nothing would happen to them. The 2 bailiffs were completely obedient. The coachman was puzzled. What devil? What cuckoo? Could it be that these 2 children were so frightening? If it wasn't for the reaction of the 2 yamen runners, The coachman would have thought that someone was joking with him. But the blood on the legs and body explained everything. Everything he saw was real. These two children weren't ordinary people. Child, quickly get them into the carriage. If they continue to stay here, one of them will bleed to death. The coachman persuaded Zhang Xiaobao. He can't die. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. That Yamen runner, can you die? Do you need me and Cuckoo to help you? Zhang Xiaobao knew that the arrow in his sleeve this time didn't bleed much. It was just painful. If he wasn't careful, there would be some sequelae. But if he was going to die, he would have to be left alone for a few days. Chapter 662. After the Yamen runner finished speaking, the other Yamen runner endured the pain and nodded in agreement. It's more important for the two of you to take office. I can go back by myself later. When I get back, I will apologize to the two of you. They were indeed afraid. If it were someone else, they would find some excuse such as, you haven't taken office yet, you can't hit me like this, it's wrong, etc. But facing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, especially Cuckoo, the two of them didn't dare to say such things. They could easily lose their lives on the road. Zhang Xiaobao smiled at the two of them and said to the driver, Uncle, let's go. Look, they're really fine. We'll go back to the county in a while. When we get there, Uncle, don't be in a hurry to leave. Tell us how much money they took from you. Cuckoo and I will help you. The driver nodded and sat back on the carriage. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also got on the carriage and patted the donkey's butt. The donkey brayed and continued to move forward. As for the two Yamen runners, they didn't care about them. After walking for an hour, the three of them didn't speak. Finally, the driver asked, Kids, are you really here to take office? Could it be that you're all small? Yes, we're here to take office. We're not young, we're old. Cuckoo and I are only 10 years old. We have nothing to do and we can't find anything fun at home, so we came here to be officials. Uncle, don't worry. We're here because we don't want you to suffer any more grievances. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to say such things because many people would think it was fake after hearing it. But he couldn't say it, so he had to bear with it and say it. What he meant by many people was actually when he and Wang Wan were young. Everyone was too smart. There was no one who didn't know how to write their own name. They could see the essence of things. But the driver didn't know that. It was the first time he heard such words from an official. He was moved. He looked left and right and nodded. You're all good kids. Unfortunately, things here are not as simple as you think. It's difficult. Old uncle, don't be discouraged. No matter how difficult it is here, can it be as difficult as us becoming an official at the age of 10? This kind of position isn't something that just anyone can take up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Zhang Xiaobao also tried to reassure the coachman. The driver was stunned for a moment and immediately admitted, Yes, I was confused. A 10-year-old child can be an official. How big of a backer does he have? Uncle, Cuckoo and I are officials personally appointed by the current emperor, so you don't have to worry. Zhang Xiaobao tried his best to show his identity in order to reassure the old man. Yes, His Majesty personally appointed you. Then your two families must be extraordinary. I wonder. The driver was indeed relieved. This was an ability. How could it be possible without a backer? But he really didn't know that the two kids were from the Shui family. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao wasn't willing to continue explaining, so she could only say, Uncle, I am from Sanshui County's Wang family. Xiaobao is from the Zhang family. Between the clouds and the water in Sanshui County, have you heard of it? Between the clouds and the water? Between the clouds and the water in the middle of the mountain by the side? I've heard of it. How could I not have heard of it? Oh, you two are the kids from Sanshui County's Zhang family and Wang family, right? Good, my God, I've finally opened my eyes. I've been waiting for this day. The coachman immediately reacted. He felt that his reaction was not slow. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, on the other hand, could not say anything else. After knowing who the two kids were, the driver used all his strength to whip the donkey to move faster. He wanted to send the two kids to the local government as soon as possible. As long as the two kids took over, the lives of the people in the county would be better. Who didn't know that the Zhang family and Wang family of Sanshui County were from Zhuangzi? Who didn't know that wherever they went, the lives of the people would immediately become better? Who would have thought that the two families would actually send the two kids over? In the future, there would be no need to worry about the people in the county. The driver was in a good mood. Perhaps it noticed that the driver was in a good mood, so the donkey pulling the cart also worked very hard and rushed forward with all its might. The driver sighed with emotion for a while before he came back to his senses. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan again, rubbed his eyes and said, I got the right person today. I got the right person today. I got the two little ancestors here. Kids, I heard from the storyteller that the two of you went to Tubo and killed many people. The little girl even laughed when she killed people. Is that true? If you think it's true, then it's true. If you think it's false, then it's false. Now I'm the county's chief secretary and Cuckoo's deputy county magistrate. What happened in the past is in the past. Zhang Xiaobao also didn't expect that his family's reputation had spread here. This was good. In the future, when he did things, he didn't have to worry about the people not cooperating. The people were the kindest. As long as you didn't deliberately harm them, they would support you. The requirements were also very low. If they could eat enough, wear warm clothes and have a house to live in, very few people would make trouble. However, most of the time the officials couldn't even guarantee this. Their families had everything and countless money. As a result, when the people rebelled, they had to push the blame to the people, as if the people were equal to unruly people. When Zhang Xiaobao decided to make the local people's lives better as soon as possible, the driver twisted the whip hard and said, It's true, it must be true. Look at the two Yamen runners just now. The little girl Cuckoo really killed countless people. Good, it's good that she laughed and killed. I don't care how many people died in other places. As long as the people from the Zhang family and Wang family come here to be officials, it's good. No wonder you weren't worried. So that's why. So that's why. So that's why. Who dares to touch your two families in the county? What's more, it was the Yamen runners who started it first. The driver often traveled outside and knew a lot of things. He might not remember who Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were, but when it came to Sanshui and Zhang Wang family between the clouds and the water, how could he not understand what it meant? Since the two children were sent here, the family would naturally protect them. What's more, they were very powerful children. That's right. If they weren't powerful, they wouldn't have been able to defeat the Yamen runners. People who had fought in wars were indeed different. They were powerful and capable. Especially when the girl was flying in the sky and the boy was on the ground sneakily attacking. It was a good strategy. When the girl landed, she was also beautiful. She stepped on the boy's shoulder. The more he thought about it, the more beautiful it was. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw the old driver like this, they could only chat with him and ask about the local situation, their family's living problems, and if there were any difficulties. The driver was so moved that he didn't know what to do. He never thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family could come to the county. What was more unexpected was that the two children, who were obviously noble and capable, were so polite and respectful when talking to him. While the three of them were walking and chatting in the donkey cart, the two Yamen runners who fell on the ground had almost recovered. They were waiting for the person who was kicked in the important part to recover so that they could bring the person who was shot back. Big brother, quickly think of something. We're finished. In the past, we took a lot of benefits from others and even beat people. Now that the ruthless people are here, it must be that the previous county magistrate went too far. The imperial court sent the two of them here. What should we do? Do we go back and plead guilty? Why don't we run? The person who was shot by the arrow covered his leg. After being in pain for so long, it was numb now. Fortunately, there wasn't much bleeding, otherwise he would have died on the spot. He was worried that after his matter was known, he would be punished and wanted to run. The two of them helped him onto the horse and sighed, Go back. We've admitted all the crimes. We can't be beheaded. We can't run away. Where can we run to? Brother, you know what kind of person Cuckoo is. The news said that she killed so many people in Tubo for the sake of the people who were washed to death by the Wang River in Shuzhou. Run. As long as we're in the Tang Empire, we can't run. Run outside. Take a ship out to sea? How many ships do Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family have? If we go to Tubo and Tujue, Tubo will be defeated. If Cuckoo asks them to hand over the people, do you think they will? The Tujue is also finished. Listen to your big brother and go back. The Yamen runner knew a lot. After analyzing, he found that they had offended Cuckoo and had nowhere to run. Cuckoo was a little girl who could do anything. If they really ran to other places and she couldn't find them, she could easily take out tens of thousands of strings of money to buy their lives. Yes, she could definitely do it. After all, her family was rich and she was that kind of person. After the other Yamen runner heard this, he trembled and sighed sadly. He looked up at the sky and muttered, God, why are these two killing gods sent to be officials? One is the deputy county magistrate and the other is the chief registrar. Although their ranks are low, are they the same? With the two of them, the county magistrate's words are useless. Except for making trouble, they can't do anything else. The more the Yamen runner thought about it, the more sullen he felt. He also knew that when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came, the situation in the county would change. No one could stop them. He was capable and his family was also capable. Everyone was an official. Whoever went against them would be courting death. But he was not reconciled. He thought for a while and said, "Big brother, the new county magistrate hasn't arrived yet. Do you think that if we deceive the new county magistrate to go against them and help them, will our crime be lighter? Will they be more lenient?" The other Yamen runner paused, nodded and shook his head. "Don't think about it. If the new county magistrate cooperates with them, we should admit our guilt. If he doesn't cooperate, then we will have a chance. But we can't deliberately do bad things when the new county magistrate cooperates. There is no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Once Cuckoo knows about it, how do you think she will kill us? Don't think about the law. She doesn't care about it. She just wants to achieve her goal. In fact, the new county magistrate may not have an easy time. The county magistrate is a lower rank of level 7. For Xiaobao and Cuckoo it is useless. When he comes he will either obey or be punished. I'm not wrong. Yes, big brother is right. Hurry up and go. It hurts so much. What is this team doing? The new businessman selling goods? Listen, a kitchen knife costs 17 coins. Are you kidding me? How can there be such a cheap kitchen knife? The man who was injured by the arrow said and suddenly saw the seller. Chapter 663. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan got on the donkey again. Their speed was much faster. The donkey was very strong. It pulled the three of them and ran forward. The carriage was jolted so much that it almost fell apart. Because it was not an important place and it was not prosperous, there was no river nearby. The road here was only wide enough for 2 carriages to pass. Sometimes only 1 carriage could pass. The road was full of potholes. It was obvious that someone had repaired the road, but it was not repaired well. Wang Wan was in charge of the government. The deputy county magistrate worked with the county magistrate. When he saw the road was not good, he asked the driver, "Uncle, should this road be repaired? When we reach the place, I will discuss with the local merchants and get some from each family." "Kukua, no, Deputy County Magistrate Wang, I said something wrong again. There is no need to rush to repair the road. If life is good, we need a wider and smoother road. Everyone can repair it themselves. But life is not good. Who wants to repair the road?" The driver had confirmed that the 2 children were here to be officials, so he had to change the way he addressed them. But when he talked to the 2 children, he was not as scared as when he met officials. He dared to say what he thought. "Uncle, you don't have to call me Deputy County Magistrate. Just call me Cuckoo. Whether an official is good or not, the people will remember it in their hearts. Uncle, you are right. When life is good, the road will be repaired. Cuckoo has learned a lot." Wang Wan wanted to be a good official and realized the value of life. She did not care about the title. She still remembered that when she was investigating an official, she passed by a small county to rest. The people in the county called the county magistrate Old Turtle. He always made a habitual action of shrinking his neck. He even raised turtles in the local area so that the people could live a good life. Although it sounded like an insult, County Magistrate Old Turtle always agreed to it. However, if someone wanted to cause trouble for Old Turtle, they would be surrounded by the entire county. To the county secretary and the commoners, they would call him secretary. However, since he had the power and authority, no one would listen to him. Wang Wan wanted to be an official who was remembered by the people. "Yes, don't call me Deputy County Magistrate. Deputy County Magistrate is not as good as County Magistrate. You can call me Deputy County Magistrate when you become County Magistrate. Cuckoo, the land here is not bad. It's just that there is no big river passing through here. There is only a small river. When it comes to water, there is not enough water." The driver misunderstood and thought that Wang Wan didn't want to be called by others because of her low rank. He didn't know that Wang Wan had a second-grade official who promised not to call her Deputy County Magistrate and mentioned the water shortage. "Xiaobao," Wang Wan called out after hearing the driver's words. When Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about what kind of resistance and difficulties he would encounter if he popularized the new bookkeeping method among the local merchants, he was woken up. "I am the Registrar General. You don't need to look for me for the well digging. Let the merchants pay for the well for the farmers. Whoever pays, their name will be engraved on the well. There will be a list of good deeds at the entrance of the yamen. Whoever is on the list will be given a silk banner as a sign of recognition. This is not against the law, right?" Zhang Xiaobao said that he didn't care, but he told her the method. "If it is against the law, at least you will be impeached for colluding with the yamen for personal gain. There will be people coming down to investigate. Also, as the Registrar General, you have the power to submit a memorial to the Yamen. It's a good idea to divert the water from the river. The project is too big and the initial investment is too much. Let's build a well. What do you think? Wang Wan knew that this kind of small thing was not difficult for Zhang Xiaobao. The merchants would be very willing to do it. Building a well would not cost much. The driver had lived for so long, but it was the first time he heard an official discuss government affairs. He sighed in his heart. How nimble. He had just suggested it and there was already a solution. It sounded good, but he wasn't sure if any merchants would be willing to pay. When he saw Wang Wan ask, he said, "Are the rich people willing to pay?" "Of course. Not to mention giving them back their reputation, even if we don't give them anything and just ask them to pay. Even if I don't want to use my family's name, between the clouds and the water is there for all to see." Wang Wan was very sure about this. This was the benefit of reputation. She was considered a public figure. Of course, when she received benefits, she also had to maintain her image. The driver thought for a while and said, "There really can be many wells. Cuckoo and Xiaobao are the great benefactors of Baoxing County. We will offer you eternal sacrifice." "Don't. It's all because His Majesty is wholeheartedly serving the people. As officials we should do the same." Wang Wan quickly stopped him. In the evening the donkey cart arrived at the county town. The county town of Baoxing County didn't have a tall city wall, only a 2-foot-high gate. The wind and rain had made the top of the wall round. There was also a new growth of grass, making the withered yellow with a hint of green. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't want to hand over their positions today, but they were too tired. They had to check the warehouse and look at the previous accounts and documents. Even if they went to the Yamen, they wouldn't be able to complete the handover today. Wang Wan said to the driver, "Uncle Xiaobao and I will find an inn to stay first. You can go home. I won't give you the money for the carriage today. Thank you for giving us a ride today. When we settle down, I will invite you to be a guest." "Why should I give you money? I asked for it in my previous life. We need to go to an inn. Follow this road straight ahead. After walking for about 400 steps, there is a Feng Wu pavilion on the left. It's clean and they always send you firewood. I heard that the food there is not bad. Oh, it can't compare to the food between the clouds and the water. You can just put up with it." The driver was very happy. Now he had something to say to his family. He pointed to the front and told Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Seeing the two of them looking left and right as they walked, he stroked the donkey and narrowed his eyes. He murmured, "Good days are coming." He waved the whip and turned to leave the city. His family didn't live in the city, so they still had to walk for more than half an hour before they reached home. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan actually knew that the uncle's family didn't live in the city. They didn't know how to get firewood in the city, but they didn't say anything. They were grateful for the uncle's special gift. Hand in hand they walked along the road, looking at the shops on both sides of the road. They also looked at the faces of the people passing by. Finally they stopped in front of the Feng Wu pavilion. Just as the driver said, this place was very clean. After winter it should have been painted again. It was a 2-story wooden building with red pillars. There was a road leading to the back which was used to store carriages. There was also a courtyard for people to live in. The shop assistant standing at the entrance had long seen the 2 handsome children coming over. He was sizing them up when he saw the 2 children standing in front of the shop. He quickly came over and asked with a smile, "Young master, young lady, are you here to eat? And we also need to stay in the inn. We need to find a good courtyard and stay for a long time. Do you accept money?" When dealing with people outside, Zhang Xiaobao was usually the one in charge, while Wang Wan would silently support him from behind. Therefore, it was up to him to do the talking, and he even took out a lump of silver and held it in his hand. He was afraid that the shop assistant would think that the two of them didn't have enough money, which would be troublesome. The shop assistant immediately responded, "Please follow me. There is an upper courtyard that is currently empty. You can stay for as long as you want. We accept money. Even if it's gold, we will exchange it for the two of you." Zhang Xiaobao took out a few copper coins and gave them to the shop assistant. After the shop assistant thanked him, they followed him inside. They passed through the front hall, went around 2 pillars and went out through another door. Then they saw the courtyard. Only then did they see that behind the courtyard, there was a small 2-story building. It was probably the best upper courtyard. The shop assistant led the way. As they walked, he asked what taboo to eat and what they liked so that he wouldn't make any mistakes when serving them. Zhang Xiaobao casually replied that he ate everything without any taboo. He liked a lot of things and could cook anything. He was very easy to talk to. If not, what else could he do? If he really wanted to tell the truth, he couldn't do it in ordinary places, unless he encountered a restaurant like between the clouds and the water. When they arrived at the upper courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao was quite satisfied. In the middle of the courtyard, there was a big locust tree that hadn't bloomed yet. There was a swing hanging on one of the branches. 10 steps to the east of the tree was a small pond, reflecting the red of the setting sun. When the breeze blew, it gently rippled. There was also a flower bed in the middle of the courtyard. Others had taken care of it, so there were no traces of flowers or leaves. The wet soil was probably just turned over not long ago. The main road was paved with yellow sand. This kind of courtyard was not bad. Zhang Xiaobao felt that the consumption he gave just now was too little. He took out more than 10 copper coins and handed it to the shop assistant. He asked, "Can you exchange them for silver here?" "Yes, not only can we exchange them for silver but also for gold. If you have the flying money from prosperous places like the capital, Dongdu and so on, as long as it's real, we will also accept it." Before the shop assistant accepted the money, he happily replied, afraid that he would be looked down upon. "All right then. First, send over a few signature dishes. The same goes for the wine. Boil a bucket of hot water." Zhang Xiaobao didn't ask any more questions. After giving the order, he and Wang Wan walked into the small building. When they entered the building, the decoration inside was not bad. When they went to the bedroom, they found that it was 80% new and clean brocade bedding. No wonder the price was so high when they asked just now. It cost 300 copper coins a day. In such an environment in the capital, it was impossible to live without money. After Wang Wan sized it up, she asked Zhang Xiaobao, "How can you exchange gold in the shop? Is it to make jewelry or other art? Does the Fengwu Pavilion operate other shops at the same time?" "I don't know. I'll ask after we get familiar with each other. When Xiaohong and others arrive, I'll go to collect information. Later, I'll take a bath and go to bed early after eating. I'll take over tomorrow and quickly arrange the well." Zhang Xiaobao was obviously tired. He stretched and said. After 2 hours, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished eating, Pomegranate and others arrived. They asked which restaurant in the county was good and went straight to the Fengwu Pavilion. They asked about the courtyard of the young master and the young lady with more than 10 copper coins and squeezed in together. This made Zhang Xiaobao complain that the Fengwu Pavilion didn't keep the guests' secrets. The next morning the sky was clear and boundless. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan changed into their purple official robes and prepared to report to the yamen. The two of them deliberately dressed like this for the people in the yamen to see, and also for the common people to see. They also hung their goldfish pouches and walked out hand in hand. The waiter was shocked. Second and third rank officials were living in the shop, and they were 2 children. Did they come from the pear garden? Zhang Xiaobao and Shirlu arrived at the street. Behind them were the bodyguards sent by Gao Lisher. Swords were slung over their shoulders and crossbows were strapped to their backs. Together with Shiryu's group, the team was not small. The common people who came and went clearly saw the 2 children in official robes walking in front of them. They all stopped to look and more people gathered. It's fun. It's more interesting to see 2 cute little guys in official robes. They look like little adults. How much did the robes cost? Someone couldn't help but ask if the robes were expensive. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard this, they were depressed. The robes were made by their own house. Other officials gave the robes to the goldfish bags, but when it came to their house, there was only a decree and nothing else. Shaoli was really too stingy. After a few hundred steps, the yamen of Baoxing County appeared in front of them. The officials and runners in the yamen all ran out to greet them. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.